In the heart of history, there are secrets that refuse to be buried. Ancient civilizations left behind wonders that defy explanation, structures, artifacts, and rituals that continue to puzzle us. What drove these cultures to build the impossible, or craft objects that seem far beyond their time? And why, after centuries of study, do these mysteries still elude us? From lost cities to strange relics, humanity is still chasing answers. Tonight, we embark on a journey through 3 hours of the most bizarre archaeological enigmas, questions that remain unanswered, waiting for us to unlock the past. Nestled in the rugged hills of the Peloponnese, near the modern village of Mycenae, stand the remnants of a civilization that once shaped the ancient world. Here, massive stones, some weighing as much as 20 tons, form walls that rise to heights of up to 16 feet, their sheer size and precision leaving a haunting mark on the landscape. These are the Cyclopean walls, named after the mythical giants, the Cyclopes, who were believed to have built them. But were these walls truly the work of giants, or did a more advanced ancient civilization possess the knowledge and strength to create such a monumental structure? The term Cyclopean itself hints at a mystery that has intrigued archaeologists for centuries. How could a society, thought to be in its early stages of architectural development, erect such imposing and well-engineered walls? The Mycenaean civilization, which flourished around 1400 BC to 1200 BC, was known for its grand palaces and intricate art. But these walls are something else entirely. They seem to defy the abilities of a people who, at the time, were still using primitive tools compared to what we would consider advanced engineering techniques today. The site of Mycenae was first excavated by Heinrich Schliemann in the 19th century, who believed he had uncovered the legendary city of Agamemnon, the leader of the Greek forces in the Trojan War. His discovery was groundbreaking, but it also raised more questions than it answered. How could the Mycenaeans have moved such enormous stones without the cranes, pulleys, or modern machinery we rely on today? Some researchers suggest that they used simple but effective techniques like levers and wooden sledges. Others propose that a lost, advanced knowledge of engineering was at play, one that could have been handed down through generations, possibly even from a now-forgotten culture. However, there is a darker, more speculative theory that haunts the origins of the Cyclopean walls. What if these colossal structures weren't built by the Mycenaeans at all? Some believe that these walls predate the Mycenaean civilization, built by an unknown civilization long lost to time. Could it be that the ancient Mycenaeans, when they arrived in the area, found these walls already standing and incorporated them into their own structures? If so, who could have constructed them, and why did they leave no trace of their existence? Could there have been another, far more advanced civilization that lived thousands of years before the Mycenaeans, whose knowledge was lost in the annals of time? Adding another layer to the mystery is the story of the Lion Gate, the massive entrance to the fortified city. Its relief of 2 lions standing sentinel above the gate has intrigued scholars for centuries, sparking debates over its meaning and its origins. The lions, sculpted from limestone, are a remarkable example of Mycenaean artistry, yet their placement and the gate's precise construction raise further questions. The gate was designed to be a symbol of power and strength, but was it also built with a more profound purpose in mind, perhaps as a part of a system of defense, or as a ceremonial threshold marking the entrance to a sacred space? The walls themselves show signs of wear, erosion, and partial collapse, yet they still stand as a testament to the ingenuity of their builders. Some parts of the structure even appear to have been designed in a way that suggests they were built with an understanding of seismic activity, possibly to withstand earthquakes. The idea that ancient people, with their rudimentary tools, could have had such foresight and skill is astonishing, and it raises the question, did they know something we've since forgotten? Could the Mycenaeans have had access to knowledge or techniques that we have lost through the passage of time? The mystery surrounding the Cyclopean walls is not simply about the stones themselves, but about the people who constructed them. Who were they? How did they live? What secrets are hidden in the vast labyrinths of Mycenae beneath those massive walls? And more importantly, why does the story of these ancient people still captivate our imagination? Despite the centuries of research and excavation, the true origins and purpose of the Cyclopean walls remain unresolved. Some of the answers may be buried beneath layers of earth, yet others may have been lost to time forever. As we continue to study the remains of this ancient civilization, one thing is certain. The walls of Mycenae still stand as an enigma, inviting us to look closer, to question further, and to wonder just what else might lie hidden in the shadows of history. As the camera pans over the sun-drenched Aegean Sea, a quiet shift in the landscape reveals the island of Thera, or what we now know as Santorini. But beneath the postcard beauty of its whitewashed buildings and azure waters lies a much deeper, more enigmatic story. Beneath the surface of this serene paradise, there rests a buried mystery, a place that was once the jewel of the ancient world. Akrotiri. Akrotiri is often compared to Pompeii, yet it stands apart. Unlike the tragic city of Pompeii, which was smothered by volcanic ash in a single catastrophic event, Akrotiri's destruction was more gradual, but equally as devastating. This ancient settlement, nestled on the southern tip of Santorini, flourished between the 16th and 17th centuries BC. It was a thriving urban center, complete with multi-story buildings, paved streets, and sophisticated drainage systems, an early example of urban planning that seems far ahead of its time. When it was first uncovered in the 1960s by archaeologist Spiridon Marinatos, the world was astonished by the remains of this vibrant civilization. Excavations revealed intricate frescoes, fine pottery, and what appeared to be an advanced culture with connections to far-reaching trade networks, stretching as far as Egypt and the Near East. The art found here, vivid depictions of daily life, seafaring, and nature, offered a glimpse into a society that thrived long before the Greeks of the classical era. Yet, as the layers of time were peeled back, something unsettling emerged. The city, once bustling with life, had been abruptly abandoned. But why? What caused the people of Akrotiri to flee their homes, leaving everything behind in a hurry? The answer, it seems, lies beneath the very ground they once stood on, a colossal volcanic eruption. Around 1600 BC, the volcano beneath Thera erupted in one of the most powerful explosions in recorded history. The eruption covered the entire island in thick layers of ash and pumice, entombing Akrotiri in a blanket of volcanic material. However, unlike Pompeii, where the victims were suffocated by ash, the people of Akrotiri seem to have fled before the eruption reached its peak. Some evidence suggests that the ashfall may have been light when the evacuation began, giving the inhabitants a chance to escape, perhaps in a frantic race against the growing storm. But was it truly an escape, or did they leave for reasons far more mysterious than the eruption alone? This is where the intrigue deepens. The volcanic eruption itself is not the only puzzle surrounding Akrotiri. In fact, some theories suggest that the destruction of this city could have been part of something much greater, something that altered the course of history. The island of Thera, with its violent eruption, is often linked to the myth of Atlantis, the legendary, advanced civilization that supposedly vanished into the sea in a single cataclysmic event. Could it be that Akrotiri was, in fact, an ancient precursor to the myth? Was Thera's eruption the real-life event that inspired Plato's story of a powerful island empire sinking into the ocean? For many scholars, the link between Akrotiri and Atlantis remains speculative. Yet, the striking similarities between the descriptions of Atlantis and the advanced nature of Akrotiri's civilization cannot be easily dismissed. The fine art, the architecture, the trade routes. These elements point to a society of unparalleled sophistication, one that might have been capable of far more than we can imagine. Could it be that the eruption, which we now understand as a natural disaster, was not merely the end of Akrotiri, but the last chapter of a lost civilization? As we consider the evidence, the mystery only deepens. Some have argued that Akrotiri's destruction was a moment of divine retribution. The Minoans, who likely inhabited the island, were known for their worship of powerful gods and goddesses. Was their sudden downfall a result of anger from these deities, or was it a natural consequence of living on a volcanic island? The theories on the cause of their destruction span the spectrum. Some argue that it was simply the volcano. Others point to a complex interaction of environmental factors, including earthquakes, tsunamis, and even climate change. Yet, another hypothesis casts the shadow of human influence over the disaster. Could there have been a more deliberate cause behind the eruption? Did the people of the region, in their pursuit of control over nature and the gods, inadvertently trigger the eruption through rituals or sacrifices? Or was there a hidden political force at play, perhaps rival factions or foreign invaders, whose actions led to the collapse of an entire civilization? Beyond these questions, there are the objects that have been recovered from Akrotiri. Some of the frescoes depict animals that seem to be of a species now extinct, adding a layer of intrigue to the mystery. Others show scenes of ships and seafaring, suggesting that Akrotiri was not just a local trading hub, but a critical player in the broader world of the ancient Mediterranean. Yet, despite these discoveries, much about Akrotiri remains frustratingly elusive. What did the Minoans believe about life and death? What did they know of the natural world, and why did they vanish so abruptly? Today, the ruins of Akrotiri stand as a frozen snapshot of an ancient world lost to time. Tourists wander through its ancient streets, marveling at the murals that remain almost perfectly preserved. But behind these beautiful images lies a haunting question. What truly happened to the people who once called this city home? Was their civilization simply a casualty of nature's wrath, or was there something deeper, a forgotten knowledge or secret lost beneath the ash? As we stand on the edge of the known, peering into the past, the eruption of Thera and the disappearance of Akrotiri continue to be one of history's great unsolved mysteries. The city's tragic end may have marked the closing of one chapter, but it raises so many more questions. What was Akrotiri really like before the disaster? What was the legacy of its people? And could it be that other hidden truths, buried in the ashes, remain to be discovered? The sands of time shift ever forward, but in the quiet ruins of Akrotiri, the past still whispers, waiting for us to listen. As we continue our journey through time, we turn now to a place that remains one of the most intriguing enigmas of the American Southwest, the Casa Grande ruins. Located in the desert of central Arizona, these ancient remnants are all that remain of a once thriving civilization that has long since disappeared from the historical record. Here, beneath the endless sky and amidst the vast stretches of the Sonoran Desert, a large, multi-story structure, its walls weathered by centuries of sun and wind, rises up, almost out of place in the barren landscape. Known as Casa Grande, or the Great House, this massive four-story structure was built by the Hohokam people, who occupied the region for centuries, flourishing from around 1 AD to 1450 AD. Despite its grandeur, much of the story behind the Casa Grande ruins remains shrouded in mystery. The Hohokam, a sophisticated and resourceful people, built a complex network of canals that transformed the arid desert into a vibrant agricultural oasis. They are known to have cultivated crops like corn, beans, and cotton, and their trade networks stretched far and wide, reaching from the Pacific coast to the Mesoamerican cultures in the south. Yet, for all their achievements, the Casa Grande ruins offer few clear answers about the people who built them. The Casa Grande itself is striking, a square walled structure with wide openings that are believed to have been windows or possibly observation points. The upper levels, built from a mixture of adobe, wood, and a type of shell-rich mortar, would have been an impressive sight in their time. The sheer size and complexity of the building suggest a well-organized society with considerable architectural knowledge, and yet no one really knows for sure what purpose the building served. Was it a ceremonial center, a residence, or perhaps a place of astronomical observation? At first glance, the function of the Casa Grande seems clear. The Hohokam were known to have an advanced understanding of astronomy, and many scholars have speculated that the windows in the upper floors were designed to align with the solstices or to mark important celestial events. The structure's location, in relation to the surrounding desert, could also suggest a connection to the movement of the sun and stars. But this remains speculative. No definitive evidence has ever been found to confirm these theories, leaving the true purpose of the Casa Grande open to interpretation. More intriguing still is the question of who exactly constructed the ruins. While the Hohokam are generally credited with its creation, there are other theories that suggest a more complex origin. Some believe that the Casa Grande was built by a different, possibly unknown culture, and that the Hohokam merely adopted or repurposed the structure. Could the builders of the Casa Grande have been influenced by outside forces, perhaps even distant cultures like the Mesoamerican civilizations that rose and fell during the same time period? This question is compounded by another perplexing feature of the ruins: the mysterious disappearance of the Hohokam themselves. Despite their advanced irrigation systems, complex social structures, and expansive trade routes, the Hohokam seemingly vanished from the region around 1450 AD, leaving behind only scattered remnants of their once great civilization. The reasons for this abrupt decline are still a matter of debate. Some scholars suggest environmental factors, such as prolonged droughts or soil exhaustion, may have driven the Hohokam to abandon their cities and agricultural practices. Others speculate that political upheaval or social disruption could have played a role in their disappearance. But the lack of written records from the Hohokam themselves leaves much of their story a mystery. Could the Casa Grande ruins hold the key to understanding this sudden collapse? What if this large, imposing structure was not just a symbol of the Hohokam's success, but also a marker of their eventual downfall? What if the building itself holds secrets, embedded in its design or in the objects left behind, that could shed light on the civilization's final days? Theories about the building's purpose continue to swirl, and many of them point to its connection with other ruins and ancient sites across the southwest. Could the Hohokam have been part of a much larger network of cultures that spanned the region, sharing knowledge, resources, and religious beliefs? Perhaps the Casa Grande was a central hub for these groups, a focal point for the exchange of ideas and goods. Or perhaps it was a place of power, where the ruling elite lived and conducted rituals that we can only imagine. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Casa Grande ruins is the ongoing mystery of how the Hohokam managed to build such an enormous structure with the tools available to them. The building material, adobe brick, was readily available, but the sheer scale of the project would have required careful planning and considerable labor. Could there have been an engineering innovation at play, a technique or knowledge that has been lost to time? The Hohokam were known for their sophisticated irrigation systems, which suggests that they had a deep understanding of hydraulics and environmental management. Was this same ingenuity applied in the construction of the Casa Grande? Another layer of intrigue surrounds the ruins' condition today. In the early 1900s, the Casa Grande was enclosed in a protective structure to shield it from the ravages of time and weather. Yet, despite these efforts, the building continues to deteriorate, and its future remains uncertain. Some scholars have even speculated that the preservation efforts may not be enough to save the ruins for future generations. Could this ongoing decay be symbolic? A reminder that the secrets of the Hohokam will likely never be fully uncovered? In more recent years, there has been a resurgence of interest in the Casa Grande ruins, with researchers once again turning their attention to the questions that have long gone unanswered. Advances in technology, such as ground-penetrating radar and satellite imagery, are allowing archaeologists to peer deeper into the landscape, searching for hidden structures and clues. Perhaps, in time, the ruins will yield up more secrets, inscriptions, artifacts, or even remnants of lost knowledge that could change the way we understand this remarkable place. As we stand before the Casa Grande ruins today, it's impossible not to be moved by the mystery that still clings to the ancient walls. What did the Hohokam know, and what did they leave behind? What were they trying to tell us, buried in the layers of earth and time? With each new discovery, we inch closer to understanding, but the questions remain as wide and vast as the desert that surrounds us. How much more of the past is hidden beneath the sand, waiting to be uncovered? And what other secrets might be waiting, locked away, just beyond our reach? The story of the Casa Grande ruins is far from over. It is a tale still in the telling, one that will continue to unfold as we search for the answers that, perhaps, only the desert itself knows. As we leave behind the arid deserts of Arizona and travel across the ocean to the green hills of southern England, we find ourselves standing before another monumental mystery: Maiden Castle. Rising from the rolling hills of Dorset, this ancient fortification is a breathtaking sight, its vast earthworks sprawling across the landscape, stretching out in intricate patterns that defy the imagination. With its towering ramparts, deep ditches, and the subtle curves of its man-made hills, Maiden Castle is not just an archaeological site, it is an enigma carved into the very fabric of the earth. Spanning over 47 acres, Maiden Castle is one of the largest and most complex hill forts in Europe, a testament to the ingenuity and strength of the people who built it. Its construction dates back to the early Bronze Age, around 3000 BC, but it was continually expanded and modified throughout the centuries, especially during the Iron Age, when it became a formidable stronghold. From its elevated position, the site offers sweeping views of the surrounding countryside, suggesting that its builders were not just concerned with defense, but also with controlling the land around them. Yet, despite its monumental scale and strategic importance, Maiden Castle remains a place shrouded in mystery, its true purpose still hotly debated by scholars and archaeologists alike. At first glance, it seems clear that Maiden Castle was a fort, a place designed to protect its inhabitants from potential threats. The earthworks themselves, with their intricate design of multiple concentric ditches and ramparts, would have been an impressive sight to any invader, while the natural landscape provided further protection. The defensive nature of the site is reinforced by the remains of thousands of weapons, tools, and other artifacts found in the surrounding area. And yet, there is something about Maiden Castle that raises more questions than answers. For one, the sheer scale of the fortification seems excessive for a simple military outpost. Why would an early Iron Age society, which was still primarily agrarian, invest so much time and energy into such an elaborate defensive structure? Was Maiden Castle simply a place of defense, or was it something more, a center of power, culture, and ritual that served purposes beyond mere protection? And if it was a place of power, who exactly lived here, and what role did they play in the broader political landscape of ancient Britain? One of the most striking features of Maiden Castle is its remarkable layout, which suggests that the site may have been a ceremonial as well as a military center. The interior of the fort is divided into sections, with clearly defined spaces that appear to have served different functions. Some areas contain the remnants of large rectangular buildings that may have been used for habitation or storage. Others hold evidence of more elaborate structures, including a massive circular platform that could have served as a gathering place for ritual or ceremonial activities. In fact, evidence of ritualistic practices is abundant at Maiden Castle. Archaeologists have uncovered numerous human remains, some of which show signs of violent death, suggesting that ritual sacrifices may have been a part of life at the site. The remains of animals, particularly cattle, have also been found in large numbers, often in carefully arranged deposits that hint at ritual slaughter. And then there are the strange, circular pits, some of them as deep as 10 feet, scattered throughout the site. These pits have been a subject of intense debate. Were they used for storage, for defense, or could they have had a more symbolic function, perhaps linked to the spiritual practices of the people who built the castle? Adding to the mystery is the discovery of the so-called massacre at Maiden Castle. In 2009, a team of archaeologists uncovered a burial site containing the remains of at least 40 individuals, many of whom had been killed in violent ways. Some were found with skull fractures, while others had their bones crushed or broken in ways that suggested they had been struck by heavy objects. The most compelling theory is that these individuals were victims of a violent raid, possibly at the hands of a rival tribe or invading force. Yet, the absence of any signs of battle or siege leaves some wondering whether this massacre was something more than just a military attack. Could this be evidence of a power struggle, a violent internal conflict, or even a ritualistic purge carried out by the inhabitants of Maiden Castle themselves? The idea of ritual and power struggles at Maiden Castle raises another intriguing question. What role did the surrounding landscape play in the site's significance? The castle's location, perched atop a hill and overlooking the fertile lands below, suggests that the people who lived here were not only concerned with defense, but also with asserting their dominance over the land. The layout of the site seems to be designed not just for protection, but to create a dramatic sense of awe and control. From the vantage point of the castle, its inhabitants would have been able to see for miles, reinforcing their sense of authority over the surrounding territory. Did this prominence reflect a deeply entrenched belief in the divine right to rule, or was it simply a pragmatic choice aimed at controlling trade routes and resources? But there is still more to consider. Despite the apparent military and ritualistic significance of Maiden Castle, there is little evidence to suggest that the site was ever involved in major conflicts during its peak. The walls show no signs of sustained siege or destruction, and the layout of the castle does not indicate the presence of significant military fortifications like those seen in other contemporary sites. This leads some archaeologists to wonder, was Maiden Castle really the military fortress it appears to be, or was it something more, a symbol of power and authority, perhaps a place where political elites could control both their own people and the natural world around them? Another mystery surrounding Maiden Castle is the unexplained abandonment of the site. By the time the Romans arrived in Britain around 43 AD, Maiden Castle was no longer in use. What caused its decline? Was it a result of Roman conquest, or did the inhabitants simply leave of their own accord? The lack of significant evidence for Roman occupation at Maiden Castle suggests that the people who once lived there might have simply moved on, leaving behind their grand fortress for reasons unknown. Did the rise of new political forces lead to its abandonment? Or was there a more mysterious cause, something that has been lost to time? Even now, the ruins of Maiden Castle offer little more than tantalizing glimpses into a world that remains far beyond our full understanding. Its imposing earthworks and its well-planned layout continue to inspire awe and wonder, but the full story of its purpose, its people, and its eventual downfall remains elusive. What do the remains of those who died there tell us about the culture that once thrived at Maiden Castle? What secrets are hidden beneath the soil, waiting to be uncovered? As we stand before the silent ruins of Maiden Castle today, we are left with more questions than answers. Was it a fortress? A ceremonial center? A symbol of power? Or something else entirely? Like so many ancient sites, Maiden Castle beckons us to keep looking, to keep wondering, and to keep searching for the answers that may still be buried deep within its enigmatic earthworks. The mystery of Maiden Castle is far from solved, and perhaps, just like the people who built it, some of its secrets may never be fully revealed. As we move deeper into the heart of ancient history, we find ourselves in a region that has long been a crossroads of civilizations, Çatalhöyük. Nestled in the central Anatolian plains of modern-day Turkey, this sprawling Neolithic settlement offers us a glimpse into a way of life that existed over 9,000 years ago. As the sun sets behind the jagged silhouette of the Anatolian hills, we see the remnants of what was once one of the world's largest and most sophisticated settlements. Çatalhöyük, with its labyrinthine streets, dense clusters of houses, and walls adorned with symbolic art, offers more than just a window into the past. It beckons us to question everything we thought we knew about early human societies. The settlement, which dates back to around 7,100 BC, was home to thousands of people who lived in tight-knit, interconnected communities. Unlike many of the ancient cities that rose after it, Çatalhöyük was not built with the usual hierarchical structure. There were no grand palaces or defensive walls separating elites from commoners. Instead, the people lived in a dense, uniform arrangement of mud brick houses, their rooftops often serving as pathways from one building to the next. It was a place where people lived and worked in close quarters, where social divisions, if they existed, were not immediately apparent. The sheer scale of Çatalhöyük is staggering. Archaeologists estimate that the city covered around 32 acres at its peak, housing perhaps as many as 8,000 people. What is even more remarkable, though, is the layout. The buildings were arranged in a tightly packed, almost organic fashion, with narrow passageways between them. Instead of doors opening onto the streets, the homes were accessed via ladders from the rooftops. It was as though the entire city had been designed to encourage a kind of communal life, where the boundaries between personal and public space were intentionally blurred. The people of Çatalhöyük had a complex and varied way of life. They were farmers, cultivating wheat, barley, and legumes, and they raised livestock, including cattle, sheep, and goats. They were also hunters, supplementing their diet with game such as wild boar and deer. Evidence suggests that they had a deep connection to the land and to the animals they raised, with rituals and art reflecting this bond. But beyond agriculture and hunting, the people of Çatalhöyük left behind something far more mysterious, artifacts and symbols that suggest a deeply spiritual society. As archaeologists excavated the site, they uncovered countless murals, reliefs, and figurines, many of which depict animals, female figures, and scenes of ritualistic significance. Some of these images seem to convey a world of fertility and creation, while others appear to be more symbolic, perhaps connected to the afterlife or the forces of nature. One of the most striking discoveries at Çatalhöyük was the abundance of female figurines, many of them exaggerated in form, with pronounced hips and breasts. These have been interpreted by some as representations of fertility goddesses, suggesting that the people of Çatalhöyük had a belief system rooted in the veneration of life-giving forces. But it is not just the art that raises questions about Çatalhöyük. It is also the burial practices. The people of this settlement practiced a form of ancestor worship that involved burying their dead beneath the floors of their homes. Over 200 graves have been uncovered, many of which contain richly adorned bodies, sometimes with precious artifacts or offerings placed alongside them. These burial sites are often in close proximity to the living areas, suggesting a belief that the dead were not gone, but continued to play an active role in the lives of the living. The placement of these graves beneath the floors is also significant. It suggests that the people of Çatalhöyük saw death as an integral part of life, intimately woven into the fabric of their everyday existence. Yet, while the rituals surrounding death appear to be well established, there is a curious lack of evidence for elaborate burial mounds or monuments, which were common in many other early societies. Why were the dead not placed in grand tombs or ceremonial structures? Was this simply a matter of practicality, or does it point to something deeper, perhaps a rejection of traditional notions of immortality or the afterlife? Could the people of Çatalhöyük have believed that the soul of the dead lived on in a different form, perhaps in the living community itself? Even more mysterious is the discovery of human skulls that have been deliberately altered. Some of these skulls show signs of intentional deformation, flattened foreheads, elongated skulls, which suggests a form of cultural practice. Why would the people of Çatalhöyük modify their bodies in such a manner? Was this a rite of passage, an aesthetic choice, or perhaps an attempt to signify a particular social or spiritual status? The skulls, like many of the other artifacts from Çatalhöyük, seem to hold secrets about a culture that defies easy explanation. There are also the mysterious depictions of animals found throughout the site. Many of the murals and figurines feature bulls, deer, and wild cats, animals that seem to have held a special significance. Some researchers suggest that these animals were totemic, representing qualities such as strength, fertility, or spiritual power. Others have proposed that the animals were part of a broader cosmological system, perhaps tied to the cycles of the seasons or the movements of celestial bodies. Did the people of Çatalhöyük view the natural world as a reflection of the divine? And if so, what did they believe about their relationship to the animals and forces they revered? But perhaps the most perplexing question surrounding Çatalhöyük is this: why did it decline and eventually disappear? At its height, Çatalhöyük was a thriving, sophisticated society. Yet by around 5700 BC, the settlement seems to have been abandoned. Some believe that environmental factors, such as changes in climate or the depletion of resources, played a role in the decline. Others point to possible social upheaval or the exhaustion of the land due to overfarming. Still, others suggest that the decline of Çatalhöyük might have been part of a broader shift in human society, as people began to move away from dense, urban settlements in favor of smaller, more mobile communities. But the true reasons for the decline of Çatalhöyük remain speculative. Was it simply the result of natural forces, or did the people themselves choose to leave, perhaps in search of new opportunities, or in response to internal changes? And if they did leave, where did they go? Could the descendants of Çatalhöyük have migrated to other parts of the ancient world, taking their customs, beliefs, and technologies with them? Or did the mysteries of this place simply fade into the distant past, leaving behind only whispers in the wind? As we stand before the ruins of Çatalhöyük today, surrounded by the remnants of its walls, art, and graves, we are reminded that the people who once lived here were not so different from ourselves. They were curious, inventive, and deeply connected to the world around them. And yet, despite all the remarkable discoveries that have been made at this ancient site, the full story of Çatalhöyük remains hidden, waiting to be uncovered. What secrets lie buried beneath the earth? What was the true nature of the beliefs and rituals that guided this ancient community? And most of all, why did they vanish so suddenly, leaving behind only their symbols, their art, and their stories? The answers to these questions remain elusive. But the mystery of Çatalhöyük, like so many ancient sites, continues to captivate us, urging us to keep searching, keep questioning, and keep exploring the untold histories that still await us. As we leave behind the sunlit landscapes of the ancient cities and drift deeper into the mist of prehistoric Britain, we arrive at a place that speaks to us from the very bones of the earth: Stony, Littleton, Long Barrow. Hidden in the rolling hills of Somerset, this ancient burial chamber has been standing for over 5,000 years, yet the mysteries it holds remain as profound as ever. Surrounded by the quiet hum of nature, Stony Littleton invites us into a forgotten world, where rituals of life and death were performed in ways we can only begin to understand. The structure itself is both simple and enigmatic. A long, rectangular mound of earth and stone, the barrow is punctuated by a series of narrow chambers, carefully arranged in a complex pattern within. The stones, weathered by time but still standing proud, form an almost labyrinthine passageway inside. These chambers, so meticulously constructed, suggest a people who possessed both a keen sense of spatial organization and a profound reverence for the dead. The barrow's very design hints at a ritualistic purpose, far beyond a mere burial site. As we step inside, we are greeted by an eerie silence, the shadows from the entrance stretching far into the darkness. The narrow passageways give the impression of entering a secretive, sacred space, one that was not meant to be casually traversed. The chambers themselves are aligned in a manner that suggests deliberate intent, pointing toward the forces of the natural world. There is no accidental placement here. Each stone, each corner, speaks to a broader, deeper cosmology. The Stony Littleton long barrow was constructed sometime around 3500 BC, during the early Neolithic period, a time when communities were transitioning from hunter-gatherer lifestyles to settled agricultural societies. It is one of the best preserved of the many long barrows scattered across southern Britain, but despite its preservation, it remains a site of mystery. Why did these early peoples build such elaborate structures for the dead? What did the layout and the stones mean to them? These questions, though pondered for generations, remain unresolved. At first glance, it might seem clear that Stony Littleton Long Barrow was a place of burial. Indeed, excavations have revealed a number of human remains, both those of adults and children, interred in the chambers. But this is where the clarity begins to fade. While other burial sites of the period also contain human remains, there is something different about this particular site. The bodies found within the barrow were not simply laid to rest in traditional graves. Instead, they were placed in a manner that seems almost ritualistic, as though their placement was of deep spiritual significance. Many of the skeletons found within the chambers appear to have been deposited at different times, suggesting that Stony Littleton was used for multiple generations. This communal burial style is not unique to Stony Littleton, but it does raise intriguing questions about the beliefs of the people who used it. Was this site dedicated to a single family, or was it a larger, more expansive burial ground for a community? Were the dead believed to be reincarnated or spiritually active among the living, returning to the site time and again? Or was the long barrow a means of ensuring that the spirits of the dead would continue to protect the living? The positioning of the bodies, along with the ceremonial nature of the site, strongly suggests that the dead were considered integral to the ongoing life of the community. As we look deeper into the remains found within the barrow, another layer of mystery unfolds. Some of the skeletons exhibit signs of unusual treatment, bones that appear to have been repositioned or even deliberately broken. This has led some scholars to suggest that Stony Littleton was not only a burial site, but also a place where the bones of the dead were treated in ways that might have been linked to ancestor worship or rituals of transformation. In certain chambers, archaeologists have found evidence of secondary burial practices, where the bones of deceased individuals were removed from earlier graves and carefully placed or rearranged in new positions. This suggests that the dead were revisited, their bodies re-engaged with over time in a process that seems far more complex than simple burial. Could it be that the people of Stony Littleton believed that the dead could provide wisdom or power, and that the arrangement of their bones held some greater, hidden meaning? The theory of ancestral veneration is one that continues to intrigue researchers. Perhaps the bodies were viewed as active participants in the lives of the living, and the rituals surrounding their burial were a way of ensuring that the wisdom or spirits of ancestors could continue to guide their descendants. There is also the peculiar orientation of the barrow itself. Some researchers have suggested that Stony Littleton, like other long barrows of the period, may have been aligned with celestial events, the rising and setting of the sun, the moon's cycles, or the stars above. Could this site have functioned as an ancient calendar, marking the passage of time and the cycles of nature? The connection between the dead and the cosmos was not unusual for ancient peoples, who often believed in the afterlife as a continuation of life in the heavens. The orientation of Stony Littleton Long Barrow might suggest that the Neolithic people who constructed it had a keen understanding of astronomy and a belief system that linked the dead with celestial realms. But the questions surrounding this barrow extend beyond burial rituals and cosmological alignments. The site itself, and its continued use across generations, raises a more fundamental question. What drove these people to invest so much energy into the construction of these grand burial sites? Unlike the larger, more recognizable monuments like Stonehenge, Stony Littleton's significance is not readily apparent. It lacks the iconic stature of its counterparts, yet it holds a quiet, even unsettling presence in the landscape. Why build something so intricate and monumental for the dead, in a place where the living seem to hold no permanent structure or material wealth? Was the act of burial itself seen as a rite of cosmic or spiritual importance, more powerful than any mundane possession or even a lasting home? Furthermore, there are strange gaps in our understanding of the Long Barrow's eventual abandonment. Archaeological evidence suggests that Stony Littleton fell out of use around 2000 BC, and while other long barrows in the region were also abandoned during this time, there is no clear explanation as to why. Was it due to a shift in religious practices? A change in burial customs? Or could there have been a more dramatic event that caused the people to leave the site behind? The fact that the site was left largely untouched for millennia, only rediscovered in modern times, adds to its sense of mystery. What remains hidden beneath the stones of Stony Littleton? Could there be further evidence, artifacts, symbols, or even hidden chambers, yet to be uncovered, waiting to provide answers to questions we have not yet thought to ask? The Long Barrow's stones seem to hold within them not just the remains of the dead, but an entire world of knowledge and belief, one that is nearly lost to history. As we gaze upon the site, surrounded by the silence of centuries, it becomes clear that the Stony Littleton Long Barrow is much more than a mere burial site. It is a portal, a place where time, life, and death converge. And as we continue our search for answers, we are left to wonder, what more can we learn from this ancient place, and what secrets might still be buried beneath the earth, waiting to reveal themselves when the time is right? As we continue our journey across the vast expanse of human history, we arrive at a place where the winds of time seem to whisper through the stones, a site older than many of the great civilizations we typically study. Ġgantija, on the island of Gozo, part of modern-day Malta, is one of the most enigmatic and awe-inspiring archaeological sites in the Mediterranean. Here, in the heart of the Maltese archipelago, the massive stone structures of the Ġgantija Temples stand in quiet defiance of time, offering us a glimpse into a world that existed over 5,500 years ago. The Ġgantija Temples are not only among the oldest freestanding structures in the world, but they also represent one of the earliest and most sophisticated examples of megalithic architecture. Dating back to between 3,600 BC and 2,500 BC, these temples were built by the Neolithic inhabitants of the islands, people whose names have long been lost to history, but whose architectural legacy remains a testament to their skill and vision. The temples themselves, vast and imposing, rise from the rugged landscape like ancient sentinels, their towering stone walls curving gracefully into the sky. The sheer scale of the structures is mind-boggling. The largest of these megaliths weighs as much as 50 tons, and some stones reach over 15 feet in height. How such a society, without the advanced tools and technologies we take for granted today, was able to transport and erect these colossal stones remains one of the great unanswered questions. Walking through the site today, it is hard not to be struck by the sense of mystery that surrounds Ġgantija. The temples are arranged in two distinct phases, with the older temple complex thought to be the earliest. The layout itself is complex, with a series of interconnected chambers, curved walls, and passages that seem to flow into one another. Each temple is a concentric circle of stones, with the largest structures surrounded by smaller outer walls that create a labyrinthine effect. The structures are not simply functional. They are carefully designed and thoughtfully constructed, with certain sections aligned to the movements of the sun and the stars. This suggests that the people who built Ġgantija were not only skilled in architecture, but also in astronomy, and they may have had a deep understanding of the heavens above. The presence of such architectural sophistication at such an early date raises questions that go beyond the technicalities of construction. Why were these temples built, and who were the people that constructed them? The fact that they were built over a period of several centuries suggests that they were not simply places of everyday life, but had a deep and sustained significance for the society that built them. They were not designed to house people or provide shelter. Instead, they appear to have served a religious or ceremonial purpose, possibly acting as centers of worship or places for rituals. The very design of the temples hints at a belief system that was intricately tied to the natural world, with the alignment of certain features suggesting that the people of Ġgantija had a profound connection to the cycles of the earth, the moon, and the stars. But the mystery deepens when we consider the art and artifacts uncovered at the site. Excavations have revealed a variety of objects, small statues, figurines, and carvings that point to a cult of fertility or goddess worship. Many of these artifacts depict female forms with exaggerated features, particularly in the hips and breasts, which suggests a focus on fertility and life-giving forces. These figures, often referred to as mother goddesses, seem to suggest that the people who built the Ġgantija temples placed a great deal of importance on reproduction, agriculture, and the nurturing aspects of life. Could this point to a society that worshipped a divine feminine force, perhaps associated with the earth itself? Was the construction of these temples part of a larger ritual to ensure the fertility of the land, or even the fertility of the people? One of the most intriguing features of Ġgantija is the absence of written records, which means that all of our understanding of the site comes from archaeology and interpretation. The lack of inscriptions or detailed records leaves us with a great deal of speculation about the society that built the temples. What did they believe about the cosmos, the afterlife, and the nature of life and death? Was their religion rooted in a pantheon of gods and goddesses, or was it more animistic, focused on the worship of natural forces like the sun, the earth, and the sea? And what, if anything, did the rituals at Ġgantija have to do with the agricultural cycles of the island? Adding to the mystery is the question of the builders themselves. Who were these people who could organize such a massive, complex construction project, and what tools and methods did they use to transport and shape the massive stones? Archaeologists know that they did not have metal tools. Copper tools, at best, had only just begun to appear on the islands at the time. The builders of Ġgantija must have relied on wooden levers, ropes, and sheer manpower to lift and move the megaliths. This raises the question, was this a society with a deep collective knowledge of engineering, or did they possess a lost technology that allowed them to carry out such feats of construction? Some theories even suggest that the builders of Ġgantija had knowledge that far exceeded what we would expect from a Neolithic society, but there is no evidence to support these ideas. Could the building of Ġgantija have been part of a greater, now lost, tradition of megalithic architecture that spanned across the Mediterranean? Or were the people of Gozo working entirely independently, with no outside influence, to create a monumental structure in the heart of the island? Another unanswered question is why the temples were abandoned. Unlike many ancient religious sites, Ġgantija was not destroyed in war or natural disasters, but simply seems to have been left behind. By around 2500 BC, the temples fell out of use, and new cultures and settlements began to emerge on the islands. Why did the people of Ġgantija stop using the temples? Did the island's climate change, or did the population shift for some other reason? Could there have been a change in religious practices, or did the once flourishing society simply fade into history, leaving behind only the ruins of their greatest achievement? We may never know the exact cause of the temple's abandonment, but their silent, stoic presence suggests that whatever led to their decline was profound. Despite its age and isolation, Ġgantija continues to stand as one of the most significant archaeological sites in the world. Its stones, worn smooth by centuries of weather, still hold a sense of mystery, perhaps even more so now than when they were first discovered. In the absence of written records and the shadow of history, Ġgantija invites us to ponder the possibilities of the past. What knowledge might have been lost here? What spiritual practices did the people of the temples follow? And how did they view the forces of nature that shaped their world? And most intriguing of all, what secrets might still be buried beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered by future generations? As we stand before the imposing stones of Ġgantija today, the mystery is far from solved. With every excavation, with every fragment uncovered, the story of this ancient place continues to evolve. And yet, despite our growing understanding, the true purpose of the Ġgantija temples remains just out of reach, an enigma wrapped in the stone walls of time. As we continue our journey through the ancient world, we arrive at a site that quietly sits under the Sardinian sky, seemingly isolated from the bustling civilizations that emerged in the Mediterranean thousands of years ago. Monte de Codi, a megalithic structure that rises from the flat plains of northern Sardinia, is a place that invites both wonder and deep curiosity. Unlike many of the more well-known ancient monuments, this site remains somewhat shrouded in mystery, its true purpose and meaning still debated by scholars and researchers. Yet, its imposing presence, with its massive stone construction, speaks volumes about the people who once built it. At first glance, the structure is striking. A massive, terraced platform rises abruptly from the earth, built from large stones arranged in carefully laid layers. The platform's rectangular shape, along with its wide base that tapers slightly toward the top, suggests a monumental effort, one that required both significant planning and labor. But as with so many ancient sites, it is not just the structure itself that sparks our intrigue, but what it represents, an unanswered question about the spiritual and social lives of the people who built it. The platform itself measures over 20 meters in length and rises to a height of 6 meters, but it is the unusual design and alignment of the structure that captivates archaeologists and historians. The site dates back to the Neolithic period, around 3000 BC, though its exact purpose is still the subject of much debate. Its features resemble those of ziggurats, the step-like temples of the ancient Near East, leading some to speculate that it may have had religious or ceremonial significance. The presence of a ramp that leads up to the platform adds weight to this theory, as it suggests that the structure could have been used for rituals or perhaps as a place of worship. But what kind of rituals might these have been? Was the ramp symbolic of a journey between earth and sky, or was it a literal path for worshippers or priests to ascend to a divine space? And if this was a temple, who or what were the people of Monte de Codi worshipping? Among the many questions that arise is, who were the builders of Monte de Codi? Sardinia in the Neolithic period was inhabited by complex communities, but not much is known about them in detail. The island was situated at a crossroads between Africa and Europe, and it is possible that early Sardinians were influenced by a variety of cultures, especially those from the Mediterranean basin. However, unlike other well-documented ancient societies, there is no clear record of the people who created Monte Archaeological evidence points to an advanced understanding of architecture, with the builders clearly capable of working with large stones and designing sophisticated structures. Could they have been part of a broader cultural movement that spanned across the Mediterranean, or did they represent an isolated civilization whose ideas and practices have been lost over time? The structure's connection to the worship of deities or celestial forces is a compelling theory. Some researchers suggest that Monte may have been used as a sort of altar or sacrificial platform, where ritualistic practices were performed to honor the forces of nature or to mark celestial events such as the solstices. The alignment of the site with the rising sun has also led some scholars to consider the possibility that the platform was used in sun worship, a practice seen in many early cultures across the world. Could it be that the platform was designed specifically to catch the first rays of the sun at dawn, offering a divine connection between the heavens and the earth? The ramp could have symbolized the ascent of a shaman or priest to a higher spiritual realm, where they would offer prayers or sacrifices to the gods above. But while these theories are intriguing, the lack of clear evidence makes it difficult to form a definitive explanation for the site's function. Unlike other ancient sites that feature clear iconography or inscriptions, Monte lacks the kind of visual or written clues that might offer insight into its meaning. There are no elaborate carvings, no inscriptions, and no obvious depictions of gods or mythological figures. This absence of direct evidence leaves room for speculation and imagination, but it also deepens the mystery. If this was a place of worship, why are there no clear signs of the rituals that might have taken place there? Were the people of Monte practicing a form of religion that did not require physical representations of the divine? Or perhaps the rituals were so sacred and private that they were never meant to be depicted or remembered by the outside world. Some scholars suggest that the structure's unusual layout and ramp could also indicate a connection to the idea of death and the afterlife. The ramp may have been seen as a pathway between the living world and the spiritual realm, a place where rituals were conducted to ensure safe passage for the dead. Could it have been a funerary site, where ceremonies were performed to honor ancestors or guide the spirits of the deceased? The idea of a ramp symbolizing the journey to the afterlife is a concept that resonates across many ancient cultures, and it is possible that the people of Monte shared similar beliefs, even if we have no direct evidence of this. There is also the possibility that Monte was a more complex site than initially realized. Some recent studies have suggested that there could have been multiple phases of construction at the site, with earlier stages being adapted or expanded over time. This raises the question: did the site evolve in response to changing spiritual or societal needs? If so, what prompted these changes? Was the structure expanded over time to accommodate increasing ceremonial or social gatherings, or did it take on new meaning as the centuries passed? The shifting nature of the site itself could be a key to understanding the evolution of the people who built it and their relationship with the forces they revered. As with many ancient sites, the absence of written records only adds to the sense of mystery. Were the people of Monte aware of the significance of their creation, or was it a symbol of something much larger than themselves, a cosmic or divine connection that transcended the individual? The fact that the platform still stands today, partially restored and still impressive despite the passage of thousands of years, raises another question. Why was it built in such a prominent way? Was it a monument to a specific ruler or leader? Or was it a communal effort, built by the collective will of a society? The enormity of the structure suggests a level of organization and dedication that could not have been the work of a few individuals, which implies that it must have held significant cultural value. Monte is a place of wonder and reflection, a place where the echoes of an ancient past still resonate. It challenges us to reconsider our understanding of early Mediterranean societies and their complex relationship with the divine and the natural world. Despite centuries of study, the true purpose of the site remains elusive, and the questions it raises continue to intrigue and mystify. What role did this ancient platform play in the lives of those who built it? Was it a site of worship, sacrifice, or something entirely different? And what mysteries might still lie hidden beneath the layers of earth, waiting to be uncovered? The answers may still be out of reach, but as we stand before Monte today, we are reminded that some of the most profound questions about our ancient past may remain unanswered for generations to come. As we journey through the ancient world, our exploration leads us to a site that offers a glimpse into a time when communities were just beginning to take shape, building the foundations of what would eventually become the complex civilizations we recognize today. In the rugged landscape of Jerf el-Ahmar, located in the northeastern part of present-day Syria, we find the remnants of communal buildings, structures that not only speak to the innovation and cooperation of early societies, but also raise intriguing questions about the nature of human society in the late Epipaleolithic period. The significance of Jerf el-Ahmar extends far beyond its stunning architecture and spatial organization. It holds a deeper mystery that has captivated researchers for decades. The site itself is a striking example of early Neolithic architecture, dating back to around 9,600 BC, making it one of the oldest known examples of planned communal living. When you first approach the site, you see the outlines of a series of rectangular buildings, many of which are made from large stones, arranged in a purposeful, orderly fashion. The structures, some of which are relatively well preserved, suggest a level of architectural sophistication that far surpasses what we would expect from hunter-gatherers of that era. These buildings were not hastily constructed shelters, but rather carefully planned spaces that likely housed a community of people, possibly several dozen or more, engaged in some form of cooperative activity. Unlike the simple temporary dwellings of hunter-gatherers, these communal buildings at Jerf el-Ahmar seem to have been designed for a specific purpose: collective living and shared activities. The walls of the structures are relatively thick, made from locally sourced stones, and some buildings even appear to have been partially divided into smaller rooms, which suggests they may have been used for multiple functions. Some researchers have proposed that these buildings served as places of communal ritual or religious practice, while others believe they may have been used for more practical purposes, such as storage or workshops. What is immediately striking about the layout of the buildings is that they are organized in a way that seems to prioritize cooperation and collective interaction. Unlike typical dwellings from this period, where the focus would have been on private space and individual family units, these structures suggest that the people of Jerf el-Ahmar were already thinking in terms of community. This raises the question: what was the purpose of this early communal living arrangement? Was it simply a practical necessity, or was there something deeper, a shared belief or social structure that led people to live together in such a deliberate, coordinated fashion? The most fascinating aspect of Jerf el-Ahmar, however, is not the buildings themselves, but the artifacts and evidence of social organization that have been uncovered around them. Within some of the structures, archaeologists have discovered evidence of ritualistic practices, specifically carvings and bas-reliefs on the walls. These markings are not just decorative, but appear to depict abstract symbols, possibly representing deities or supernatural forces. The people of Jerf el-Ahmar may have been developing a spiritual system, one that was closely tied to their daily lives and to the natural world around them. One of the most striking symbols that has been found at the site is the carved image of a horned animal, a motif that appears to have had spiritual significance for the people of the time. Some have speculated that these carvings represent a form of shamanistic belief, where the horned animal could symbolize a connection to the spirit world, a guide between the living and the divine. Could the communal buildings of Jerf el-Ahmar have been used for ceremonies dedicated to this animal deity or spirit? The association between horns and deities in early cultures is well documented, from the bull gods of the ancient Near East to the horned figures in Paleolithic cave art. It's possible that the people of Jerf el-Ahmar were among the earliest to engage in what we might recognize as ritualistic practices, suggesting that this site could have been not just a place of living, but a sacred space where the divine was invoked and honored. Yet, the mysteries of Jerf el-Ahmar do not end with its religious iconography. Archaeological evidence has also pointed to the domestication of plants and animals in the area, further suggesting that Jerf el-Ahmar was a site of early agricultural development. But this raises more questions. What drove these early people to settle in one place and begin farming? Was it a desire for food security, or was it something more? The fact that the community built such large communal structures suggests that they may have been actively working together to cultivate the land, perhaps in ritualized or coordinated efforts. Could the spiritual practices associated with this site have been linked to the cycles of agriculture, with ceremonies designed to ensure the fertility of the land and a successful harvest? It's a compelling theory, but without more concrete evidence, it remains speculative. Another significant feature of the site is the absence of evidence of warfare or defensive structures. Unlike other early Neolithic sites, Jerf el-Ahmar does not appear to have been constructed with any sort of fortifications, such as walls or ditches. This could suggest that the people of the site lived in relative peace, with a focus on cooperation and social cohesion rather than conflict. Could Jerf el-Ahmar have been a utopian society, where people worked together in harmony to build a better future? Or is it possible that there was some other reason for the lack of fortifications? Perhaps the community simply had no enemies, or perhaps they relied on spiritual protection, believing that their connection with the divine kept them safe from outside threats. These questions are difficult to answer, but they open up intriguing possibilities about the nature of early human society. One of the most tantalizing aspects of Jerf el-Ahmar is the mystery surrounding its eventual abandonment. Despite the apparent success of the community, the site was eventually deserted, and its buildings were left in ruins. Why did the people of Jerf el-Ahmar leave their carefully constructed homes and communal spaces behind? Some scholars suggest that environmental changes, such as a shift in climate or the depletion of resources, could have played a role. Others propose that the shift from communal living to more dispersed, individual settlements could have been driven by social or cultural changes. The abandonment of Jerf el-Ahmar is one of the central enigmas of the site. What drove this society to collapse, and what happened to the people who once lived there? As we reflect on the remains of Jerf el-Ahmar, it's clear that this ancient site was not just a place of dwelling, but a center of social, spiritual, and agricultural life. The communal buildings stand as a testament to the ingenuity and cooperation of early human societies, but they also leave us with a sense of mystery. What was the true nature of the society that built them? Was it a society bound together by shared beliefs and collective purpose, or was it a transient community whose fate was determined by forces beyond their control? The answers may never be fully known, but the questions raised by Jerf el-Ahmar continue to intrigue and inspire those who seek to uncover the mysteries of our ancient past. Nestled high in the Peruvian Andes, at the meeting point of the Mycenae and Huachexa rivers, lies an ancient site that echoes with mysteries from a long-forgotten civilization. Chavín de Huantar is a place that seems to transcend time, a spiritual and cultural epicenter built by the Chavín people, who flourished in the region around 900 BC. Its strategic location in the Andean highlands is as imposing as the stone structures that rise from the landscape, structures that have long captivated archaeologists and scholars for their complexity, scale, and enigmatic symbolism. The site itself is nothing short of monumental. As you stand before it, the sheer scale of Chavín de Huantar is overwhelming. The architecture is a testament to the advanced engineering skills of the Chavín civilization, with its intricate networks of stone passageways, mysterious chambers, and colossal stone carvings. The central area of the site consists of a pyramid-like structure known as the Old Temple and an even larger complex known as the New Temple. These temples are connected by a series of underground galleries, narrow, winding corridors carved deep into the rock. These passages are not merely structural. They appear to have had symbolic meaning, leading many to question their true purpose. Were they designed to imitate the labyrinths of the human psyche? Or perhaps to represent a journey into the underworld, guiding initiates through the mysteries of life and death? As you venture further into the site, the carved stone faces and the labyrinthine design of the temples start to evoke a sense of awe, but also unease. The most famous of Chavín de Huantar's carvings are the jaguar and the lanzon, two striking stone figures that seem to convey the power and mysticism associated with the site. The lanzon, a 15-foot-tall stone sculpture housed in the temple's central chamber, is especially puzzling. This sculptural monolith is intricately carved with jaguar-like features and is thought to represent the deity of Chavín, though its exact meaning remains a matter of debate. Was the jaguar a symbol of the elite? A supernatural force that bridged the human and divine realms? Or perhaps a manifestation of the shamanistic traditions believed to have flourished here, where powerful beings were believed to exist in both the spiritual and animal realms? As with many ancient sites, the question of purpose lingers. What role did Chavín de Huantar play in the daily lives of the people who built it? The scale and design of the site strongly suggest it wasn't just a city or a center of trade. It was a spiritual hub, one that attracted pilgrims from far and wide. But for what purpose? The most widely accepted explanation is that the site was a center for religious and ceremonial practices. The Chavín people were known for their shamanistic beliefs, and Chavín de Huantar may have been a place where rituals were performed to communicate with the gods, or perhaps to enter a trance-like state. Some researchers speculate that the labyrinths and dark, narrow tunnels might have been used to induce a sense of disorientation or sensory deprivation, allowing those who entered to experience visions, altered states of consciousness, or communication with supernatural entities. The discovery of head-shaped stone carvings in the temple galleries and the iconic smiling faces carved into many of the stones adds to the mystique of the site. These faces, often depicted with exaggerated features such as wide eyes and gaping mouths, might have served a ceremonial function, embodying deities or spirits of the land. But what do these faces really represent? Were they the faces of gods, ancestors, or something more abstract? Perhaps the spiritual guides who mediated between the human world and the divine? Some have proposed that these carvings depict the hallucinogenic visions experienced by shamans or high priests during their rituals. Could the Chavín people have used plant-based substances or other means to reach altered states of consciousness, thereby seeing the world in a way that ordinary people could not? This connection between religion, power, and altered states of consciousness is one of the most compelling and mysterious aspects of Chavín de Huantar. Evidence suggests that the site was more than just a physical space. It may have been a conduit to a higher realm, a place where people could access divine wisdom, gain power, or seek guidance. But how exactly did these practices unfold? The site's acoustic properties are another feature that raises intriguing questions. Some researchers suggest that the layout of the temples and the arrangement of the galleries was intentionally designed to amplify sound. Could the sounds of music, chanting, or ritual prayers have been used to heighten the transcendent experience for those inside? Did the priests or shamans use sound to guide the initiates through their spiritual journeys, or perhaps to communicate with the gods themselves? The most puzzling feature of Chavín de Huantar is the mysterious rituals that may have been conducted there. Was this a place of sacrifice? Were human beings offered to the gods as part of a larger cosmological order? The evidence for human sacrifice at the site is circumstantial, but it cannot be ignored. Some skeletal remains found at Chavín de Huantar exhibit signs of trauma, and the site's sculptural depictions of jaguars and serpents could suggest that these animals were symbolic of predation and transformation. Perhaps human beings were seen as a form of tribute to the gods, offered in exchange for divine favor or protection. Then there are the enigmatic underground galleries. These tunnels, stretching throughout the site, are dark and narrow, leading to hidden chambers with carved figures, reliefs, and intricate stonework. What purpose did these underground passages serve? Were they simply architectural features, or did they have a deeper, ritualistic function? The disorienting nature of the galleries, combined with their deep association with the sacred, suggests that they may have been intended as part of a ritualized journey, where participants would move through the dark tunnels to reach the light of the temple's heart, symbolizing the passage between life and death, or between the mortal world and the divine. Despite the growing body of research on Chavín de Huantar, there remains much that is unresolved about its purpose and significance. Why did the Chavín people invest so much time and energy into building such an elaborate site? Was it solely for religious reasons, or was there another, more pragmatic purpose behind its construction? What role did the mysterious artifacts and symbols play in the rituals carried out at the site? And perhaps most intriguingly, what knowledge or power did the priests or shamans who led these ceremonies believe they had access to? The mystery of Chavín de Huantar is far from solved. The site, with its labyrinthine galleries, massive stone sculptures, and powerful symbolism, continues to challenge our understanding of the ancient world. Were the Chavín people ahead of their time in terms of architectural innovation and spiritual practice, or were they merely one of many ancient cultures that sought to bridge the gap between the mortal and divine? As we explore the mysteries of Chavín de Huantar, we are reminded that the truths hidden within its walls may remain forever elusive, leaving us to ponder the enigmatic connection between humanity and the divine, and the power of belief to shape the course of civilization. As we journey further into the enigmatic corners of the ancient world, we come upon a site nestled in the quiet countryside of Brittany in northwestern France. There, among fields that stretch into the horizon, lies the Kercado Passage Grave, a mysterious and ancient burial structure that has long puzzled archaeologists and historians alike. Part of the larger network of megalithic sites in the region, Kercado stands as a testament to the complex burial practices of the early inhabitants of Western Europe. But what secrets does this ancient grave hold, and what might it reveal about the people who constructed it over 5,000 years ago? The Kercado Passage Grave is relatively modest in size compared to other megalithic structures like Stonehenge or the Grand Dolmens of Ireland, but its design and purpose are no less captivating. It is a chambered tomb built from large, immovable stones, arranged in such a way that the structure forms a narrow passageway leading into a central chamber. The tomb's location within a low hill and its alignment with specific celestial events suggest it may have had significant astronomical and ritualistic importance for its builders, likely the Neolithic peoples who inhabited the region around 3000 BC. As you approach Kercado, the first thing you notice is the site's eerie serenity. The tomb stands quietly against a backdrop of lush fields and ancient oak trees, its stones worn by centuries of wind and rain. Yet, even as you stand before it, there is an undeniable sense of awe, a feeling that you are in the presence of something far older, and perhaps far more mysterious than the landscape that surrounds it. The stones of the passage grave are of varying sizes, some standing tall, others half buried or tilted by the passage of time. These megaliths are not just remnants of a forgotten age. They are part of a vast network of similar tombs scattered throughout the region, marking the presence of a people whose knowledge of the earth and sky has long since faded from collective memory. The passage grave itself is a tunnel of stones that leads into a small chamber. It is believed to have been used for the burial of high-status individuals, perhaps chieftains or religious leaders, though no skeletal remains have been definitively identified within the grave. The passage is narrow, barely wide enough for a single person to pass through, which suggests that those who entered may have done so as part of a ritualistic journey, perhaps to the afterlife or as part of a religious ceremony. But why such a confined space, so deliberately designed to channel the movement of the living and the dead? The corridor-like passageway seems to serve more than a purely functional purpose. Its narrowness could have been symbolic, creating a sense of transition between the world of the living and that of the ancestors or gods. Some have speculated that the design reflects the journey of the soul after death, moving through a physical gateway to the afterlife, a journey that would have been taken by the deceased person's spirit. Could this passage have been intended to guide the soul to its final resting place? Or was it a place where the living came to commune with the dead? The architecture itself, although seemingly simple, is filled with rich symbolism that raises more questions than answers. The Kercado Passage. Grave, like other tombs of the same period, is aligned with the movements of the sun and moon, further suggesting its significance as an astronomical observatory. The solstices and equinoxes may have played an important role in the timing of rituals and the placement of burials. Some researchers propose that the entrance to the grave may have been oriented so that sunlight would enter the tomb at specific times of the year, casting light into the chamber on key dates. But what was the purpose of this alignment? Was it merely a practical matter of tracking the seasons for agricultural reasons, or was it a way to connect the world of the living with the cosmos? Could the tomb have been a ritual space where the position of celestial bodies marked significant moments in the life cycle, birth, death, and rebirth? In addition to its astronomical connections, Kercado also offers a glimpse into the symbolic world of the people who built it. The stone carvings and engraved patterns found on some of the megaliths point to a belief system that was deeply attuned to the natural world. The motifs of spirals, circles, and other geometric shapes suggest that the builders of Kercado saw the universe as a system of interconnected forces, governed by cycles and rhythms that could be harnessed and understood. These symbols may have been used in rituals or ceremonies intended to bring the community closer to the gods or the spirits of the ancestors. But what did these symbols mean to the people who left them behind? Were they merely decorative, or did they hold deeper, hidden meanings that we can no longer fully grasp? As with many megalithic sites, the purpose of the grave is still the subject of much debate. While it is clear that Kercado was used for burial, the specifics of its function remain elusive. Some scholars argue that the site was simply a burial tomb, a place where the dead were interred in a manner befitting their status. But others suggest that Kercado may have had a broader social or ceremonial role. Did it function as a communal gathering place where the living came to perform rituals to honor the dead? Or was it a site where ancestral spirits were believed to reside, influencing the lives of the living? The people who built Kercado were undoubtedly connected to their environment in ways we can only begin to understand, and their rituals may have been woven into the very fabric of daily life. Adding to the mystery of Kercado is the absence of a clear record of who these people were. The Neolithic societies that inhabited the area left behind few written records, and the physical remains they did leave, through stone tools, pottery, and burial sites, offer only a limited glimpse into their lives. What we know of the Kercado builders comes from the remnants they left in the stones themselves, carvings, alignment with celestial events, and the design of the passage grave. Who were they? What gods did they worship, and what beliefs motivated them to construct such a remarkable site? And perhaps most perplexingly, why did they go to such lengths to create a burial site that was not only a resting place for the dead, but a monument to the spiritual journey of life itself? As we reflect on the mystery of Kercado, we are reminded that much of the meaning behind such ancient structures will likely remain elusive. What we have are fragments of a world that once was, a world where the boundary between life and death was permeable, where the natural world and the spiritual world intertwined in ways we can no longer fully comprehend. The Kercado Passage. Grave stands as a testament to the deep, mysterious relationship between humanity and the cosmos. But what remains hidden beneath its stones? What stories are still locked within its passageways, waiting for a new generation to uncover? Perhaps the true mystery of Kercado lies not in the answers we seek, but in the questions it continues to inspire. Questions that bridge the gap between the ancient past and our modern search for meaning in a world that is still full of unknowns. As we continue our exploration of ancient sites that defy simple explanations, we now turn our attention to the remote, wind-swept plains of Japan's northernmost islands, where the earth itself seems to hold secrets from a distant past. Among the dense forests and mist-covered hills of Hokkaido and the Tohoku region, scattered across the landscape, lie the Jomon stone circles, a series of ancient megalithic sites that have puzzled archaeologists, historians, and even modern-day mystics. These stone formations, though not as famous as the stone circles of Britain or the monumental sites of South America, carry with them an aura of deep mystery, their origins and purpose still largely unknown. The Jomon people, who created these structures, are among the earliest known inhabitants of Japan, dating back to around 10,000 BC, a time when much of the world was still in the throes of the Paleolithic era. The Jomon culture, named after the distinctive cord-marked pottery they created, represents a sophisticated society that thrived for thousands of years, long before the rise of organized kingdoms or written language. They were hunter-gatherers, but they also engaged in agriculture and developed complex spiritual beliefs, as evidenced by the ritualistic objects and spiritual symbols found at many of their archaeological sites. It is within this cultural context that the Jomon stone circles exist, their purpose and meaning still the subject of much speculation. The stone circles themselves are deceptively simple in appearance. At first glance, they might seem like nothing more than arrangements of large, rough-hewn stones, placed in a circular pattern or in linear configurations. But upon closer inspection, it becomes clear that these stones were carefully placed, their sizes and shapes meticulously chosen. Some circles are perfectly symmetrical, while others follow irregular patterns that suggest a deeper, symbolic purpose. The stones themselves, often weighing several tons, were transported from distances far greater than would seem feasible for a prehistoric culture with limited tools. Their alignment with celestial bodies, the changing seasons, and natural landmarks hints at a level of sophistication that belies their outward simplicity. One of the most striking features of the Jomon stone circles is their alignment with astronomical phenomena. Like other ancient megalithic sites across the world, many of the stone circles are positioned in such a way that they align with the solstices or other key celestial events. The winter solstice, in particular, seems to have been of significant importance, as certain stone circles appear to have been designed to capture the first rays of sunlight on this pivotal day. Was this a ritualistic observance of the cycle of the sun, or was it something more? The idea that these ancient people may have used the movements of the heavens as a means to mark time, celebrate the changing seasons, or connect with the gods is a thought that resonates deeply within the walls of these stone circles. But what were these people hoping to achieve by constructing such vast and intricate arrangements of stone? Theories abound, but none offer definitive answers. Some scholars suggest that the Jomon stone circles were places of ritual and worship, where the people gathered to honor their deities or to mark significant life events. In some cases, human remains have been found near or within these circles, hinting at possible burial practices or ancestral veneration. The Jomon people may have believed that the stones themselves held spiritual power, serving as a conduit between the human world and the divine. Were these circles designed to house the souls of the departed, or were they places where the living could commune with their ancestors? Others speculate that the stone circles may have served a more practical purpose, perhaps as ceremonial gathering spaces, or even as astronomical observatories, similar to the function of the Mayan ruins or the Stonehenge complex in the UK. Were they used to track the movements of celestial bodies, predicting seasons for planting and harvesting, or was their role more mysterious, tied to a form of spiritual guidance that we have yet to fully comprehend? With so many unanswered questions, the more we look at these stone circles, the more we realize just how much we have yet to uncover about the Jomon people and their advanced understanding of the world around them. What is even more compelling, however, are the speculative theories surrounding the symbolism of the stone circles. Many of the shapes of the stones, as well as their placement, suggest a pattern of thought that links these structures to other ancient cultures that were similarly concerned with the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. Could the Jomon stone circles be related to the mysterious megalithic constructions of other ancient civilizations, like those found in Europe or North Africa? Some have proposed that these stone arrangements share common themes, be it celestial alignment, ritual practices, or the reverence for ancestors, that stretch across time and space, uniting seemingly disparate cultures in their common quest to understand the forces of nature and the universe. One particularly intriguing aspect of the Jomon stone circles is the persistence of their mystery. While some of the stones have been relocated and others have been eroded by time and nature, many of the circles remain remarkably well preserved. But despite years of excavation and study, we still cannot say for certain what their true purpose was. Could they have been sites of early shamanistic practices, where rituals took place to invoke the gods or spirits of the earth? The enigmatic presence of animal motifs in Jomon art, images of birds, bears, and other creatures, suggests that the people of this culture may have had a complex relationship with the animal world. Perhaps these stone circles were not merely human creations, but were designed to honor the spirits of the animals they revered, marking a connection between human life and the natural world that transcended the boundaries of physical existence. Furthermore, the Jomon culture itself remains a fascinating enigma. While their pottery, which is among the oldest known in the world, reveals a remarkable level of craftsmanship and aesthetic sensibility, much of the society's spiritual beliefs remain hidden. Was their religion based on animism, as suggested by the prominence of natural motifs in their artwork? Or was there a more complex pantheon of gods, perhaps ones connected to celestial events or the forces of nature? The Jomon stone circles may hold the key to unlocking these questions, but as of now, the full significance of the site remains elusive. As we stand before these ancient stone circles, it is impossible not to feel the weight of the questions they raise. Who were the people who built them, and what did they seek to achieve? Was their relationship with the stones purely symbolic, or did they believe these stones held real, tangible power? And what can we learn from their way of life, their rituals, and their understanding of the cosmos? The Jomon stone circles remain one of the great unsolved mysteries of ancient archaeology, and as we leave them behind, we are reminded that many secrets of the past still lie dormant beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered. Perhaps, in time, we will unlock their true meaning, but for now, the stones remain silent, holding their secrets close, just as they have for millennia. Nestled high in the mountains of western Georgia, Abuli Fortress stands as a silent witness to centuries of history, its ruins both imposing and mysterious. This ancient citadel, perched atop a craggy hill at over 2,200 meters above sea level, commands a breathtaking view of the surrounding valleys and distant mountain ranges. The fortress, often overlooked in the broader tapestry of ancient history, has long piqued the curiosity of archaeologists and explorers alike. What is it about Abuli Fortress that makes it so enigmatic? And why, even today, does it remain an unsettled mystery for those who study it? Abuli Fortress is thought to have been built sometime around the 9th century AD, during a period of political upheaval in the region. While its precise origins are debated, the site's strategic location makes its purpose clear. This was not just a fortress. It was a defensive stronghold designed to protect against invasions, likely from nomadic tribes or rival kingdoms. Yet, its very remoteness and the complexity of its construction suggest that it may have served a deeper purpose, one that we have yet to fully understand. The most striking feature of the fortress is its mysterious stonework. Constructed from massive, irregularly shaped stones, the walls of Abuli seem to blend seamlessly with the natural landscape. The sheer scale and precision of the construction raise questions. How did the builders, with limited resources and primitive tools, manage to fit these colossal stones together so perfectly? Was there some advanced knowledge of engineering at play, or were the builders guided by something more mystical, perhaps the influence of a long-forgotten culture with knowledge that has since been lost to time? Walking through the ruins of Abuli, you are confronted with the striking remnants of its defensive walls and towers, now weathered and worn by centuries of wind, rain, and human neglect. Yet, despite the passage of time, these structures still radiate a sense of purpose and power. The entrances, which are framed by huge stone lintels, are clearly designed to be imposing, while the narrow passageways within the fortress suggest a high degree of fortification, a design meant to funnel and control the movement of people within. But who were the people who used this place, and why did they choose such an inhospitable, isolated location for a fortress? One possibility is that Abuli served as a regional hub for a small but influential kingdom, or a band of elite warriors, who sought not only protection from invaders, but also a place to engage in ritualistic practices or cultural activities. Archaeologists have found evidence of artifacts such as pottery and coins within the fortress, suggesting that the people who lived here had trade connections, both with neighboring regions and far-off civilizations. The architectural layout of Abuli, with its expansive terraces and well-constructed chambers, hints at a degree of social sophistication that contrasts with the harsh environment surrounding the fortress. But was this a simple military outpost, or did it have other, more mysterious roles in the broader geopolitical landscape of the time? What truly deepens the mystery of Abuli, however, is its apparent abandonment. Sometime around the 13th century AD, the fortress was deserted, likely due to the increasing pressures of invasions from foreign powers, including the Mongols. But the strange thing is that the abandonment of Abuli is not well documented in historical records. No clear cause is given for why such a strategically significant site was left to fall into ruin. Did the inhabitants simply abandon their fortress in the face of overwhelming military pressure, or was something more unusual at play? Could there have been some other force, natural, cultural, or spiritual, that led to the sudden and unexplained desertion of this once thriving stronghold? In addition to its mysterious abandonment, Abuli Fortress is also the site of numerous local legends and folktales. Some stories speak of a hidden treasure buried within the ruins, perhaps lost during the final days of the fortress's use. Others suggest that the site was cursed, and that the spirits of the long-dead warriors who once defended the fortress still haunt the area. These myths are common in many ancient sites, where the passage of time blurs the line between history and superstition. But is there any truth to these stories? Could the treasure be real, waiting to be discovered by a future explorer? Or is it just a product of the human need to add mystery to the unknown? There are also theories about the astronomical significance of Abuli Fortress. Some researchers have pointed out that the fortress may have been constructed with precise alignments to celestial bodies, a common feature in other ancient fortifications and religious sites. The sunrise and sunset during certain seasons may have been significant to the inhabitants of Abuli, who could have used the natural landscape as a sort of celestial calendar, marking important agricultural or ceremonial events. Did the builders of Abuli have knowledge of the heavens, and could this knowledge have influenced the fortress's design? Some have even suggested that the site was constructed to align with key astrological events, perhaps as a way to harness the spiritual power of the sun and stars. Yet, for all the theories that abound about the purpose and significance of Abuli Fortress, the hard evidence remains elusive. Was the fortress solely a military outpost, or did it play a more complex role in the spiritual and cultural life of the people who once lived there? Some researchers have even posited that Abuli could have been a ritual center, a place where local elites performed sacred rites, perhaps in an effort to influence the natural world or communicate with deities. The lack of written records only deepens the mystery, leaving us to speculate about the practices that may have taken place in the fortress's shadowy chambers. And then there is the question of its construction. The stones of Abuli Fortress are massive, many weighing several tons, and yet the site's location, high in the mountains, would have made transporting these stones an enormous challenge for the people who built it. Some scholars have proposed that the builders had access to advanced engineering techniques, possibly lost to history, which allowed them to move and position the stones with remarkable precision. Could there have been a forgotten knowledge of construction, one that enabled these ancient people to create such monumental structures in an age long before modern technology? As we stand before the weathered ruins of Abuli Fortress, the questions only grow more pressing. Why did the builders choose this remote location, and what did they hope to achieve? What role did this fortress play in the larger historical and spiritual landscape of its time? And why was it abandoned, leaving no clear record of its fall? Like so many other ancient mysteries, the secrets of Abuli Fortress remain hidden beneath layers of time. Perhaps one day, new discoveries will shed light on the fortress's true purpose, offering us a glimpse into the lives of the people who built it. But for now, we are left with more questions than answers, as the stones of Abuli continue to whisper their secrets to those who are willing to listen. In the remote and rugged landscapes of the Caucasus and southern Russia, hidden amidst dense forests and misty hills, there exists a series of enigmatic structures that continue to puzzle archaeologists and researchers. These structures, known as torpedo-shaped dolmens, are unlike any other megalithic constructions found around the world. Their distinctive elongated forms resemble massive upright stones that taper at one end, giving them the appearance of torpedoes. It is this unusual shape, coupled with the mysterious circumstances surrounding their construction and purpose, that has led to decades of speculation. What was their true function? Were they tombs, ceremonial spaces, or perhaps something entirely different? The dolmens themselves, which date back to around 3000 BC to 2000 BC, are scattered across the mountainous regions of Abkhazia, Georgia, and the North Caucasus. Made primarily from large, flat stones, these dolmens are often characterized by a distinctive passageway or entrance, leading to a chamber where the remains of human beings, or in some cases, animal sacrifices, have been found. These burial chambers are constructed with impressive precision, using megalithic blocks that weigh several tons. Some of the dolmens still stand proudly, though weathered by time and erosion, while others lie collapsed and in ruins. Despite their age, they remain strikingly formidable in their appearance, almost defying the elements that have attempted to wear them down over millennia. At first glance, these structures might seem relatively straightforward, simply large stone tombs built by ancient peoples, but there is much more to the dolmens than meets the eye. Why were they constructed in such an unusual shape? The torpedo-like form of these dolmens raises immediate questions. Most megalithic tombs in other parts of the world, such as the pyramids of Egypt or the stone circles of Britain, follow more recognizable shapes, pyramidal or circular. The dolmens, however, with their angular shape and narrow, sometimes triangular entrances, seem to defy convention. Were the builders of these dolmens simply following a local tradition, or was there some deeper, perhaps spiritual reason for these peculiar shapes? Some experts argue that these dolmens were used exclusively for burial purposes. The presence of human remains in some of the dolmen chambers supports this theory, suggesting that they may have functioned as tombs for the elite or for those with special significance within the community. The narrow entrances of the dolmens could imply a sense of seclusion, perhaps to ensure that the spirits of the dead were kept separate from the living world. But was the shape of these structures intended to symbolize something more than just death? The torpedo shape of the dolmens has led some researchers to propose that these structures were meant to represent the human body itself. The narrowing of the structure at one end, coupled with the central chamber, could symbolically represent the head and the torso of a body. Was this a way to honor the deceased in a very direct and physical sense? Some archaeologists have even suggested that the shape could be a metaphor for rebirth or spiritual transformation, with the narrow passageway leading into the chamber serving as a symbolic journey into the afterlife. There is also the question of the construction methods used to build these dolmens. The massive stones, some weighing up to several tons, would have been extremely difficult to transport and position with the limited technology of the time. Yet, the precision with which these stones are placed, carefully balanced to create a stable structure, suggests that the builders possessed a sophisticated understanding of engineering. How did they manage to move and shape such enormous stones without the help of modern machinery? Some have proposed that the ancient peoples of this region may have used advanced tools and techniques that have since been lost to history. Others speculate that there may have been a greater degree of social organization and resource management than initially thought, allowing these communities to pool their efforts for the construction of such monumental structures. Yet, while the practical purposes of the dolmens may seem clear, tombs, shrines, or ceremonial sites, there are numerous unexplained elements that continue to intrigue archaeologists. For example, the alignment of the dolmens to specific astronomical events such as solstices and equinoxes has led some to theorize that these structures were more than mere burial sites. Could they have been used as celestial observatories, marking the passage of time and the changing of seasons? The precision of the alignment suggests that the builders had an intimate knowledge of the heavens, much like the creators of other ancient megalithic structures around the world. Adding to the mystery is the fact that many dolmens are found in clusters, often in isolated or sacred locations, such as near water sources or on hilltops. These groupings suggest that the dolmens may not have served as individual burial sites, but rather as part of a larger ritualistic complex. Were these dolmens used in ceremonial gatherings or festivals? Was there a spiritual or political significance to their arrangement, one that has been lost to time? The exact nature of these rituals remains unclear, but their connection to astronomical phenomena and the natural world hints at a belief system that was deeply intertwined with the forces of nature. Interestingly, the symbolism surrounding the dolmens remains largely mysterious. Some researchers have pointed to the presence of carvings or petroglyphs found near or on the stones of certain dolmens, suggesting that they were not simply tombs, but also sacred places of ritualistic significance. These carvings, which often depict animals, spirals, and abstract shapes, suggest that the people who built these dolmens had a rich spiritual life and a complex understanding of the world around them. Could the torpedo-shaped dolmens have been designed to capture the spirit or essence of the deceased, allowing them to transcend into the next realm? While much has been speculated about the meaning of the torpedo-shaped dolmens, their purpose and significance remain unclear. What did the builders of these structures hope to achieve? Were they simply creating monumental tombs, or did the dolmens hold a more profound, symbolic significance? The alignment with the heavens, the sophisticated construction methods, and the surrounding folklore all suggest that these dolmens were not just utilitarian structures, but part of a larger spiritual and cultural system that is lost to us. As we ponder the mystery of the torpedo-shaped dolmens, we are left with more questions than answers. The complexity of their construction, the symbolism embedded in their form, and the strange rituals that may have taken place around them all suggest that there is much more to these ancient structures than we can currently comprehend. Will we ever fully understand their purpose? Or are they destined to remain as enigmatic markers in the landscape, silent witnesses to a forgotten world, holding secrets that time has obscured? The mystery of the torpedo-shaped dolmens is far from resolved, and perhaps, in time, further discoveries will help to uncover the hidden truths behind these ancient wonders. Until then, we are left to wonder what still lies buried beneath the stones. Tucked high in the Bighorn Mountains of Wyoming, among the jagged peaks and dense forests, lies an ancient and mysterious site that has intrigued scholars, indigenous people, and explorers for centuries. Known as the Bighorn Medicine Wheel, this circular stone structure, carefully arranged with radiating spokes and a central cairn, stands as a testament to a forgotten past. At first glance, it appears to be a simple collection of stones, but as we dig deeper into its history and meaning, we find that the Bighorn Medicine Wheel is far from ordinary. The wheel is located at an altitude of over 3,600 meters, nearly 12,000 feet, making it a daunting place to reach. Its location alone seems to suggest that this was not a site built haphazardly or for mundane purposes. The effort involved in constructing such a monument, situated in such a remote and inhospitable environment, prompts the question, what were the people who built this wheel trying to achieve? And why did they choose such a difficult, high-altitude location, far from the fertile valleys where most ancient civilizations lived and thrived? The structure itself consists of a circular arrangement of stones, with 28 spokes extending outward from a central stone cairn. The wheel, when viewed from above, forms a perfect symmetrical circle, its design both simple and yet strikingly precise. The cairn at the center is slightly raised, suggesting it once held a more prominent role, perhaps as a place of worship or a focal point for rituals. Surrounding the wheel are additional smaller stone features, some of which appear to have been deliberately placed in alignment with certain celestial events. Scholars and archaeologists have long debated the purpose of the Bighorn Medicine Wheel. The prevailing theory is that it served as a sacred site for the indigenous peoples of the plains, particularly the Crow and Sioux nations, who are known to have had deep spiritual connections with the natural world. The wheel, with its radiating spokes, has been interpreted by many as a representation of the cosmos, a symbol of the universe, the sun, the moon, and the stars. It is believed that the medicine wheel was used in astronomical observations, allowing ancient peoples to track the movements of celestial bodies and mark important events in the agricultural and ceremonial calendar. The design of the wheel, with its intricate alignments, lends credence to this theory. Some researchers have pointed to specific alignments of the stones that correspond to the rising and setting points of the sun at various times of the year, especially during the solstices and equinoxes. This suggests that the Bighorn Medicine Wheel was not just a symbolic structure, but a practical one, used to track the passage of time and the seasons, guiding the community in its agricultural and ceremonial activities. The central cairn might have served as a marker, perhaps indicating the precise location of the sun's path on specific days. However, the true significance of the wheel extends far beyond astronomy. The term medicine wheel itself alludes to its sacred function within indigenous spiritual practices. In many native cultures, the term medicine is used not only to refer to physical healing, but also to spiritual power and wisdom. The medicine wheel, therefore, might have had a role in ritualistic ceremonies, where the circle symbolized the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The spokes could have represented the various pathways or phases of life, while the central cairn may have been a place where offerings were made to the spirits or ancestors. It's possible that the structure served as a focal point for spiritual healing, where individuals sought guidance from the divine. Yet, despite these plausible explanations, the exact purpose of the Bighorn medicine wheel remains elusive. Some theories suggest that the wheel was used in shamanic practices, where individuals would journey to the site to receive visions or messages from the spirit world. The elevated location could have served to put the practitioners into a state of heightened awareness, allowing them to commune with the spiritual realm. The natural isolation of the wheel also raises the possibility that it was a ritualistic retreat, a place of solitude and introspection away from the distractions of everyday life. Another intriguing question that arises when examining the Bighorn medicine wheel is its relationship to other similar sites scattered across North America. There are numerous other medicine wheels, stone circles, and megalithic structures found in the plains, the mountains, and even the forests of North America. Some of these are older, some are newer, but all share a common theme: spirituality, celestial observation, and the interconnection between humanity and the cosmos. Were these wheels all part of a larger cultural and religious network, or were they independently constructed by different groups with similar cosmological beliefs? And what knowledge, now lost to time, did these ancient peoples share that allowed them to create such precise, symbolic structures across such a vast landscape? The connection between the Bighorn medicine wheel and other stone circles is not merely a matter of geographical distribution. Some have speculated that the stones used to construct the wheel could have been carefully chosen for their spiritual significance. Could these stones have been regarded as possessing inherent powers, or did they serve as markers of specific energy lines, directing the flow of spiritual or earthly energy? The fact that the stones are arranged in such a precise pattern suggests that their placement was not random. Each stone might have had a specific purpose, whether it was to align with a star, capture the power of the sun, or direct the flow of cosmic energy. While the mainstream theories about the medicine wheel focus on its astronomical and spiritual significance, some more speculative ideas have also been proposed. One such theory suggests that the wheel could have been part of an ancient network of sacred sites, used not only by the indigenous peoples of the plains, but by even older civilizations that predate recorded history. Was it possible that this wheel was part of a system of interconnected spiritual hubs, all aligned to create a greater geometrical and cosmic harmony across the continent? Could there have been a forgotten, far-reaching spiritual tradition that once spanned across the vast expanse of North America, linking these stone circles and medicine wheels into a unified belief system? And if so, why did it fade away, leaving only these remnants scattered across the land? Another possibility that intrigues researchers is the idea that the Bighorn medicine wheel may have been constructed with knowledge of advanced mathematics and geometry. The wheel's proportions and symmetry are strikingly precise, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of spatial relationships. Some have suggested that the design of the wheel could have been influenced by older, lost civilizations, perhaps even those from distant lands who traveled across the seas. While this idea remains highly speculative, it raises the question: how far did the knowledge and traditions that shaped the Bighorn medicine wheel truly extend? Were these indigenous cultures drawing from a shared ancient wisdom, or did their knowledge evolve independently, grounded in their own unique spiritual and observational practices? As we stand before the Bighorn medicine wheel, gazing at the stones that have withstood the test of time, we are left with more questions than answers. The site's purpose, its origins, and its deep spiritual significance remain shrouded in mystery. Yet, in the absence of clear answers, the medicine wheel continues to captivate us, serving as a reminder that there are still corners of history where the human spirit remains inscrutable, waiting to reveal its truths, if only we are patient enough to listen. Perhaps, as future explorers and researchers continue to investigate, more clues will emerge to illuminate the purpose of this ancient wheel. Until then, it stands, a silent yet powerful symbol, inviting us to consider the deep and enduring connection between humanity and the cosmos. As we journey deeper into the history of human civilization, we come upon a place that predates the written word, where the remnants of an ancient past still echo through time. Tel es-Sultan, also known as the site of Jericho, is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, and within its layers of history, something peculiar and profound emerges: the early stone walls of Tel es-Sultan. Rising above the barren plains of the Jordan Valley, near the modern-day city of Jericho, the site is renowned for its mysterious stone fortifications, which stand as a testament to the ingenuity of early human settlers. The walls, which date back as far as 8000 BC, appear strikingly sophisticated for their time. To the untrained eye, they may seem like little more than piles of rocks, mundane and unspectacular. But when we take a closer look, we begin to see something much more intriguing, a structure so ancient that it challenges our conventional understanding of early human society. The most striking feature of these walls is their size and precision. Stretching across the hillside in massive curved formations, the walls were not just rudimentary enclosures, but carefully constructed fortifications, built with remarkable skill. The stone blocks, some weighing several tons, were fitted together with such precision that even thousands of years later, they remain largely intact. The sheer scale of the effort suggests that the people who built these walls possessed a level of organization and craftsmanship far beyond what we might expect from societies at the time. These walls were not just defensive in purpose, but were also symbols of something larger, perhaps a community's need for protection, identity, or control over their environment. For centuries, historians and archaeologists have puzzled over the purpose of these walls. Mainstream archaeology suggests that they were part of an early defensive structure meant to protect the inhabitants of Tel es-Sultan from outside threats. At the time, the region was teeming with life, and the walls may have served to protect early communities from wild animals or rival groups. The importance of Jericho as a settlement was already evident, with its inhabitants engaging in agriculture, domestication of animals, and trade. But the walls raise a more profound question. How did these early peoples come to such advanced knowledge of engineering? And why did they feel the need to fortify a settlement that, by some accounts, might not have been large enough to warrant such massive structures? When you stand before the walls, you are confronted by the stark contrast between the simplicity of the surrounding landscape and the complexity of the construction. The stonework is rough, yet the design is undeniably deliberate. The walls, for example, are not simply vertical barriers. They curve and bend with a purpose. Why such meticulous attention to shape and direction? Some have even speculated that the walls were more than just defensive. They might have served as symbolic markers, boundaries that separated one community from another. In a world where territory was of paramount importance, could these walls represent not only physical protection, but also the boundary between the sacred and the profane? Between those who belonged and those who did not? Adding to the enigma is the discovery of a massive stone tower within the walls, a structure that seems far too advanced for its time. The tower, standing nearly 8 meters, 26 feet tall, is a marvel of early construction. It raises the question, why would a society so early in human history, one that was still in the process of mastering agriculture and settlement building, invest so much effort into a single, towering structure? Was it purely defensive, or did it hold a deeper, ceremonial significance? The idea that this tower might have been a ritual site, a place for worship, for community gatherings, or even for astronomical observation, adds yet another layer to the mystery of Jericho's early walls. But the mystery does not end there. Some fringe theories suggest that the walls of Tel es-Sultan could have had a more cosmic or symbolic purpose, perhaps representing something beyond mere earthly defense. Could these walls have been aligned with the stars, the sun, or the moon, much like other ancient megalithic sites around the world? The idea that ancient peoples had an advanced understanding of astronomy and built structures that reflected their cosmological beliefs is not a new one. From the pyramids of Egypt to the stone circles of Britain, many ancient civilizations constructed monumental structures with precise alignments to celestial events. Could the walls at Jericho, then, be part of a larger network of ancient structures, built to mark the passage of time or align with certain astronomical phenomena? While there is no conclusive evidence to support this, the possibility lingers, adding a tantalizing layer of intrigue to the site. Then there is the question of the people themselves, the builders of Jericho's early walls. Who were they, and what drove them to such monumental construction projects? While it's widely accepted that the inhabitants of Jericho were early agriculturalists who had already begun to settle into permanent communities, there is little agreement on the exact nature of their social organization. Did they have a complex hierarchy that could have orchestrated such a large-scale construction project? Or were these walls a communal effort, built by a more egalitarian society? The scale of the work suggests a high degree of cooperation and organization, but the reasons for the walls remain speculative. As we step back and survey the landscape around the Tel Sultan site, it becomes clear that there is much about this place that we still don't understand. The early stone walls, the tower, the settlement itself, they all hint at a society more sophisticated and more enigmatic than we can fully comprehend. Were these people just early builders, or did they possess knowledge and skills that have been lost to time? What did these structures mean to the people who lived here? Were they simply practical, or did they represent something deeper, something spiritual, ceremonial, or even cosmological? There are those who believe that the true purpose of Tel Sultan's early walls will never be fully understood. They argue that we may never be able to grasp the full significance of the site, given the vast cultural and temporal gaps that separate us from its creators. Yet, the fact that these walls have endured for millennia suggests that they were built for something more than mere function. The walls of Jericho, like many other ancient sites, may continue to hold secrets, hidden messages encoded in their stones, waiting for the right time to be revealed. As we reflect on these questions, we can't help but wonder, what else lies beneath the layers of earth and stone? What might future discoveries reveal about the people who built these walls? And more importantly, what lessons can we learn from their craft and their belief systems, which have endured the ravages of time and the silence of history? The early stone walls of Tel Sultan stand as a silent witness to a forgotten chapter in the human story. They may not yet give up all their secrets, but their enduring presence invites us to continue asking the questions, hoping that, one day, we might uncover the hidden truths that lie within. Get smarter responses, upload files and images, and more. As we continue our exploration of ancient, mysterious places, we arrive at a site nestled high in the mountains of Peru, a place where the echoes of an ancient religious cult still seem to reverberate through the stones themselves. The Kotosh religious temple is one of the oldest ceremonial sites in the Americas, and its significance extends far beyond its humble appearance. Located near the town of Huánuco, the Kotosh temple complex is both an enigma and a fascinating window into the spiritual practices of the ancient peoples who inhabited the Andean highlands. Its most remarkable feature is not simply the structure itself, but the profound questions it raises about the origins of religious thought in the New World. At first glance, the Kotosh temple seems unassuming. Built from the region's abundant stone and mud, the temple is a modest structure compared to the grandiose stone monuments found elsewhere in the world. Yet, it is precisely this simplicity that serves as an invitation to delve deeper. What significance did this small, stone-walled complex hold for the people who constructed it more than 4,000 years ago? What drove them to create a sacred space in this remote location, hidden among the jagged peaks and valleys of the Andes? The temple's most striking feature is a small rectangular chamber that sits at its heart, a space where evidence of religious and ceremonial activity has been uncovered. The chamber itself was clearly built with a sense of purpose, not merely as a shelter or dwelling, but as a sacred space intended to serve as a focal point for the rituals of the time. As archaeologists have uncovered, it was here that the earliest forms of Andean ritual practices took place, and it is here that the mystery deepens. The Kotosh religious temple is widely regarded as a place of ceremonial worship. Excavations have revealed a variety of ritual objects, stone altars, pottery fragments, and tools, suggesting that it was used for religious rites, possibly including offerings to the gods or ceremonies connected to the cycles of the natural world. But what makes this site so intriguing is not simply its age or the material remains it has left behind, but the fact that it might hold clues to the origins of Andean religion itself. The people who built the Kotosh temple, likely members of the pre-Inca civilizations, were part of a long lineage of cultures that deeply revered the natural world. In fact, many of the religious practices uncovered at the site appear to be linked to agricultural cycles, a common theme throughout ancient Andean spirituality. The sacred rituals may have been connected to the veneration of natural forces, specifically the earth, the sun, and the moon, which were believed to influence the success or failure of crops. Some researchers suggest that the temple may have also been a place for the communication with ancestors, a theme that appears frequently in ancient Andean societies, where people believed that the dead played an active role in the world of the living. But there is another, perhaps more enigmatic aspect to the Kotosh temple: the peculiar arrangement of stones found within its walls. In one of the most intriguing discoveries at the site, archaeologists unearthed a set of stones arranged in such a way that they appear to have been placed deliberately in the shape of a cross. The positioning of these stones raises an immediate question. Could this arrangement suggest that the ancient people of Kotosh had some form of cross-like symbolism, a motif that has been associated with the symbolism of the sun and the cosmos in many ancient cultures around the world? And if so, what might this tell us about their understanding of the universe and the divine? At the heart of the mystery surrounding Kotosh is the possible connection to other ancient religious traditions. The arrangement of stones, the emphasis on natural forces, and the focus on ancestor worship seem to echo themes that appear in distant lands, particularly in the ancient cultures of Egypt and Mesopotamia, where religious structures were similarly aligned with celestial events and cycles. Did the ancient peoples of the Andean highlands share a spiritual worldview similar to other early civilizations, or was this a completely unique, independent development? The cross-shaped stone configuration, in particular, raises the possibility that the symbolism at Kotosh was not purely local, but might represent a broader, transcontinental religious phenomenon. This idea, of early religious traditions being connected across vast distances, has long been a subject of debate among scholars. Some theorists suggest that ancient civilizations may have communicated or shared spiritual knowledge over long distances, even across continents. While there is little concrete evidence to support this claim, the similarities in religious structures and iconography found in distant parts of the world continue to spark intrigue. Could the people of Kotosh have been influenced by other early religious systems, or did they develop their beliefs independently? The similarities between the temple's cross-like arrangement and the sun-worshipping traditions of the ancient Near East cannot be dismissed lightly. The possibility that these ancient cultures may have shared certain cosmological principles raises the tantalizing question: what might we be missing in our understanding of the early human connection to the divine? Moreover, it's worth noting the location of the Kotosh temple itself. Situated at over 3,000 meters above sea level, it is a remote and difficult-to-reach site, suggesting that the people who built it were not only resourceful but also deeply committed to their religious practices. Why would such a small group of people dedicate so much effort to building a religious structure in such an inhospitable location? Was it purely for practical reasons, such as the need for protection or isolation, or was there a spiritual significance to the temple's remote setting? Some have speculated that the location may have been chosen because of its proximity to sacred natural features, such as rivers, mountains, or caves, elements often associated with divine power in ancient belief systems. Could it be that the Kotosh temple was constructed with the intention of aligning with the sacred landscape, harnessing the energies of the earth and sky for the benefit of the people's spiritual and material well-being? The discoveries at the Kotosh religious temple are remarkable in their own right, but the questions they raise are equally fascinating. How did the people of this ancient Andean civilization understand their place in the cosmos, and how did they use sacred architecture to reflect that understanding? Was their religion grounded in practical concerns, such as agriculture and survival, or did it delve into more abstract realms, connecting them with forces far beyond the physical world? In the absence of written records, we are left to piece together these ancient rituals and beliefs from the artifacts they left behind. While many of the mainstream explanations point to a religious or agricultural center, the unanswered questions continue to linger. The cross-shaped stone arrangements, the complex rituals, and the remote setting all suggest that the Kotosh temple may have served a function far greater than what we can immediately comprehend. As we stand in front of these ancient stones, one can't help but wonder, what deeper knowledge or forgotten truth still lies buried beneath the layers of earth and time? What mysteries of the past will future archaeologists uncover? The Kotosh religious temple, with its enigmatic remains, continues to hold its secrets close, waiting for the right questions to be asked and the answers to be discovered. And so, the story of the Kotosh temple remains an unfinished chapter as we continue to search for the missing pieces of an ancient puzzle. As we journey through the myriad mysteries of the ancient world, we arrive at a site that blends the beauty of nature with the secrets of an ancient civilization. Monte Alegre, a rock shelter located in the Amazon basin of Brazil. This site, often overshadowed by the grandeur of other ancient wonders, holds a quiet, enigmatic presence. Its cave paintings and rock shelters, dating back thousands of years, offer a glimpse into a culture that once thrived in one of the most isolated and challenging environments on Earth. Yet despite the importance of this discovery, it remains a mystery in many ways. Its secrets still elusive, its purpose still debated. At first glance, Monte Alegre appears to be little more than a series of large, weathered rock formations tucked away in the dense forests of the Amazon, far from the bustling metropolises of modern civilization. The shelters themselves are modest, simple overhangs of rock where early humans would have taken refuge from the elements. Yet, it is precisely this simplicity that invites curiosity. What could these sheltered spaces have meant to the people who created them? What kind of lives did they lead? And why did they choose to leave behind images that still baffle archaeologists today? The most striking feature of Monte Alegre is its rock art. Found across the surface of the rock shelters, these paintings and engravings depict a wide variety of animals, human figures, and abstract symbols. Many of these images suggest a deeply spiritual and symbolic understanding of the world. Yet, there is no clear explanation as to what these figures represent. Are they ritualistic depictions, an attempt to communicate with the gods? Or perhaps they are something even more profound, a record of a culture's way of seeing the world and their place in it, captured in vibrant colors on the rough surfaces of stone. But who were the people who made these drawings? And why did they choose rock shelters in particular as their canvas? The age of the Monte Alegre rock paintings is another point of intrigue. Radiocarbon dating has suggested that some of the artwork may be as old as 12,000 years, a time when the Amazon was vastly different from the lush jungle it is today. Back then, the landscape would have been drier, with open savannas and sparse forests, offering a very different environment for the people who lived there. This raises a question that has long puzzled researchers. How did the people of Monte Alegre manage to thrive in such a harsh and unpredictable landscape? Were they skilled in navigating the dense jungles of the Amazon, or did they rely on a completely different set of survival strategies than we might expect? The artwork itself speaks to a deep connection with the natural world. Many of the depictions feature animals native to the Amazon, such as jaguars, macaws, and snakes, suggesting that these creatures may have held a special significance for the people of Monte Alegre. The presence of these animals in the paintings may reflect a cultural reverence for the natural world, a theme that resonates strongly with many indigenous cultures across the Americas. Some researchers have even suggested that the images could represent an early form of shamanistic practice, an attempt to bring the spirit world into the physical realm through ritualized imagery. But what did these animal figures truly mean? Were they symbolic representations of spiritual forces, or did they serve another, more pragmatic purpose, perhaps related to hunting, magic, or storytelling? Yet, despite the many tantalizing questions posed by the artwork, there are few answers. Some of the abstract symbols found within the shelters suggest the possibility of a written language, but this remains speculative. Could the people of Monte Alegre have developed a form of communication through symbols long before the advent of formal writing systems? The idea that these paintings might represent an early script challenges our assumptions about the development of language in the Americas. But is there enough evidence to support this theory? Or is it simply a case of modern minds imposing their own frameworks on an ancient, unfamiliar culture? There is also the matter of the site's location. Monte Alegre is far from any major trade routes or known cultural centers, which raises further questions about its purpose. What was the significance of this remote shelter in the forest? Why would these people have chosen this isolated location to create their sacred or artistic spaces? Was the site a ritual center, a place for gathering, or perhaps even a place of initiation into secretive spiritual practices? The site's isolation only adds to the mystery. Was it a retreat from the outside world, a place where individuals or groups could practice their beliefs away from the gaze of others? Or was it part of a much larger, more intricate network of sacred sites, whose full extent we have yet to uncover? One of the most intriguing aspects of the Monte Alegre rock shelters is the fact that they were not just artistic expressions, but also functional spaces. Archaeological evidence suggests that the shelters were likely used for living, not just for painting. The presence of tools, pottery, and even bones in the shelters indicates that these were places where people spent considerable time. But were they simply places of shelter, or did they serve as something more? Could these rock shelters have been a site of ritualistic importance, where the people who lived there came together to perform ceremonies or meditations? Or were they part of a much larger religious and social structure, one that we have yet to fully understand? Adding to the mystery is the fact that, despite its age, Monte Alegre is still only partially understood. Many of the rock shelters and caves have not been fully explored, and much of the artwork remains hidden beneath layers of sediment and vegetation. How many more secrets does this place hold? Are there untold stories etched into the walls, waiting to be discovered by future generations of archaeologists? While it's clear that Monte Alegre was once an important site, its full significance remains unclear. Was it a spiritual center, a communal gathering place, or simply a shelter for early human beings trying to survive in the rugged Amazon? The paintings and carvings that adorn the walls of the rock shelters are undeniably beautiful, but their meaning remains elusive. Could they hold the key to understanding the earliest forms of spirituality in the Americas? Or are they simply remnants of a lost civilization whose culture we may never fully grasp? Perhaps the greatest mystery of all is the silence that surrounds Monte Alegre. For all the artwork and evidence of past life, it remains largely absent from the historical record. The people who created this site left behind little more than their art and their tools. No written history, no grand monuments, just these enigmatic shelters and their hidden secrets. And so, we are left with more questions than answers. The Monte Alegre rock shelters stand as a testament to the ingenuity and mystery of the ancient world, a place where early humans etched their stories into stone, hoping to communicate with those who would come after them. What did they want us to know? And what still lies buried, waiting for the next generation of explorers to unearth it? The answers may be out there, just beyond the reach of our understanding, waiting to be discovered. As we continue our journey through the bizarre and mysterious remains of ancient civilizations, we arrive at an intriguing and puzzling site. Rujm el-Hiri, an ancient stone structure nestled in the Golan Heights, a region known for its complex history and strategic importance. From afar, Rujm el-Hiri may look like nothing more than a collection of scattered stones, a humble reminder of a past long forgotten. But as we step closer, its intricate design and the precision of its construction begin to speak volumes, revealing a story that remains largely shrouded in mystery. The structure of Rujm el-Hiri is like something out of an enigma. It is a stone circle, but not just any ordinary circle. The stones here are arranged in a pattern that seems almost purposeful, as though they were placed with a deliberate intention. At the center, a large mound of stones rises above the surrounding landscape, surrounded by concentric circles of varying sizes. The design of the structure, its symmetry, and the precision with which the stones are arranged suggest a highly sophisticated understanding of geometry, even if the people who built it left behind no written records or clear explanations for their work. Rujm el-Hiri is often referred to as a stone ruin, but that label barely scratches the surface of its complexity. It is a megalithic structure, and yet, unlike the more famous stone circles of the ancient world, such as Stonehenge, Rujm el-Hiri is not just a solitary arrangement of stones. It is a multi-layered monument with a number of different features that suggest it had multiple uses over time. Archaeologists believe it was constructed during the Bronze Age, possibly around 3000 BC, a period when early humans were beginning to harness the power of stone tools, settle into agricultural societies, and build monumental structures for ritualistic or ceremonial purposes. The sheer scale of Rujm el-Hiri is one of the first things that strikes you. The stone circles are enormous, with the largest one measuring about 50 meters in diameter. The stones themselves are massive, some weighing as much as 2 tons. The careful positioning of these stones suggests that they were deliberately arranged, not just placed haphazardly as a simple pile or mound. The central mound, which rises dramatically above the surrounding landscape, is flanked by 4 smaller circles, forming a complex and intricate layout that seems to align with certain points in the sky, perhaps the sun or stars. This alignment with the heavens is what has fueled much of the speculation surrounding the true purpose of Rujm el-Hiri. Could it have served as an astronomical observatory, much like the famous Nabta Playa or even Stonehenge? Some researchers have suggested that the positioning of the stones was designed to track the movement of the sun, moon, or even the stars, a theory supported by the fact that the structure's layout is meticulously aligned to specific astronomical events, such as solstices or lunar cycles. But what were the people of Rujm el-Hiri trying to observe, and why? Was this a place of worship, a ritualistic site where people gathered to mark important celestial events? Or was it something more, perhaps a ceremonial tomb or a symbolic marker for the passage of time? One of the most fascinating features of Rujm el-Hiri is the apparent lack of obvious burial or funerary evidence. Unlike other megalithic structures that are closely associated with tombs or burial sites, Rujm el-Hiri seems to be more focused on the landscape and the celestial bodies above it. There are no clear human remains, and while there are some stone structures that suggest a form of ritualistic activity, no graves or tombs have been definitively identified. This has led some researchers to question whether Rujum el-Hiri was primarily a ritual site, a place where the living and the dead could interact on some spiritual level, but not necessarily a place for burial. This lack of direct evidence has left room for a number of more speculative theories about Rujum el-Hiri's purpose. Some have suggested that the site might have been a place of pilgrimage, where people traveled from all corners of the ancient world to engage in religious practices, while others believe it may have been used for healing rituals or as a place of communal gathering for those living in the surrounding areas. Yet, none of these theories can be definitively proven. Each is supported by circumstantial evidence, and each raises as many questions as it answers. Equally mysterious is the absence of written records that might provide more insight into Rujum el-Hiri's creators. In other parts of the ancient world, monumental structures like these were often accompanied by inscriptions, offering clues about their creators, their rituals, and their beliefs. But at Rujum el-Hiri, no such inscriptions have been found. This has led some scholars to speculate that the people who constructed the site might have had a non-literate culture, one that passed on knowledge through oral tradition or symbolic forms of communication, such as the stone arrangements themselves. Adding to the intrigue, there are myths and legends from local traditions that suggest Rujum el-Hiri may have once been a sacred space, imbued with great spiritual power. Some stories claim that the site was built by an ancient civilization that had mastered the art of astronomy and astrology, using it as a tool to predict the movements of the heavens and interpret the will of the gods. Others suggest that the stones themselves may have been part of a larger, more elaborate ritualistic system, designed to commune with otherworldly forces or guide the deceased through the afterlife. Perhaps the most perplexing aspect of Rujum el-Hiri is the fact that it remains largely unexplained. While researchers have made significant strides in dating the site and understanding its basic structure, the deeper significance of the stone circles and their arrangement remains a mystery. The lack of a clear cultural context, coupled with the absence of any definitive evidence about the beliefs or practices of the people who built it, leaves us with more questions than answers. What was the purpose of the stone circles? Was it a site of astronomical observation, a place of spiritual significance, or something else entirely? And perhaps most intriguingly, why was it abandoned, and why has it remained so remarkably well preserved through the millennia? As we stand before Rujum el-Hiri today, its ancient stones continue to speak in quiet whispers, telling a story that has yet to be fully understood. The people who built this site may have long since disappeared, but their monument endures, a testament to their ingenuity, their faith, and their ability to harness the power of the natural world. The questions remain unanswered, just as they have for thousands of years. What secrets lie hidden within this enigmatic structure? What does it tell us about the ancient civilizations that once flourished here, and what might still be waiting to be uncovered? The answers may be buried beneath the stones, waiting for the next generation of archaeologists to reveal them. Until then, Rujum el-Hiri will continue to stand as a silent sentinel, guarding the mysteries of the past. As we move further into the realm of ancient mysteries, we find ourselves in the misty, windswept highlands of Scotland, at a site steeped in history, mystery, and intrigue. Here, amidst the lush landscape of Cairngorms National Park, lies the enigmatic Clava Cairns, a series of prehistoric burial monuments that continue to baffle archaeologists and historians alike. At first glance, the Clava Cairns appear to be little more than weathered piles of stone, clusters of large, roughly hewn boulders, arranged in circular patterns around a central mound, hidden among the dense vegetation and gorse. But as you step closer, you begin to realize that these ancient structures are much more than simple burial sites. They are monuments to a long-lost civilization, crafted with care and precision by people whose lives and beliefs remain largely unknown. And despite decades of archaeological research, their true purpose continues to elude modern understanding. The Clava Cairns consist of 3 main burial chambers, or cairns, that date back to the Bronze Age, roughly 4,000 years ago. Each cairn is encircled by a ring of standing stones, and inside the cairns, large stones are arranged to form roofed chambers, believed to have been used for the burial of the dead. The most striking aspect of the cairns, however, is their alignment with the surrounding landscape, and, more intriguingly, the celestial bodies. The site seems to be built with a deep understanding of astronomy, aligned not just with the natural landscape, but also with the movements of the sun and possibly the moon. Could these cairns have been used as markers to track celestial events? Were they built to observe the heavens, or to interact with them in a spiritual way? These questions linger in the air, adding layers of complexity to the already perplexing nature of the site. As we explore the site, it becomes clear that the cairns are far from simple burial structures. The stones themselves, some weighing several tons, are arranged with a precision that suggests the builders possessed an advanced knowledge of engineering. Their placement is not haphazard. Rather, the stones appear to have been carefully chosen and positioned with great intention. But why this meticulous care? What was it about these stones and the placement of the cairns that inspired such dedication? One of the most fascinating aspects of the Clava Cairns is their alignment with the solstices. The main burial cairn, located at the center of the site, is oriented so that it is illuminated by the light of the winter solstice sunrise. This remarkable alignment suggests that the builders of Clava Cairns were not only focused on the practical aspects of burial, but also on the cosmic significance of the sun and its role in the natural world. The winter solstice, a time of renewal, has long been associated with rebirth and transformation in many ancient cultures. Was this alignment a symbolic gesture designed to harness the energies of the sun and offer a connection between the living and the dead? Or was it a form of astronomical observation, marking a specific time of year when the sun's position could be used for more practical purposes, like agriculture or navigation? Yet, for all the careful craftsmanship and sophisticated understanding of the heavens that the cairns suggest, the meaning behind them remains an enigma. Who were the people who built Clava Cairns, and what drove them to create such elaborate and enduring structures? The people of the Bronze Age are thought to have been agricultural communities, living in small, close-knit groups. But there is little evidence to suggest that these people were engaged in large-scale, centralized societies that would have required grand burial monuments of this magnitude. The cairns seem to be an outlier, a testament to a culture that existed in a time and place of relative isolation. Were these people driven by religion, spirituality, or astronomy? Or could there be a deeper, more unknown reason for the construction of these structures, one that remains hidden beneath the layers of time? Adding to the mystery is the discovery of intricate carvings found on some of the stones at the site. While not as extensive as the rock art seen in other ancient cultures, the carvings at Clava Cairns suggest a symbolic language, one that may have been deeply connected to the spiritual beliefs of the builders. Some researchers have speculated that these carvings could represent ritualistic symbols, while others believe they may have been designed to represent celestial patterns, stars, constellations, or the phases of the moon. What do these carvings represent? Are they a form of communication, a way of recording knowledge, or a sacred language that connected the people of the cairns to the divine? While most scholars agree that the site was primarily a burial ground, questions about the rituals performed at Clava Cairns remain open. Were these cairns used for simple burial, or did they serve as places of ceremony where the dead were honored with elaborate rites? Given the complex nature of the site, it's possible that Clava Cairns were places of pilgrimage, where people from surrounding communities would come to perform sacred rituals or celebrate the cycles of nature. The presence of the standing stones, often associated with ritualistic practices in other megalithic cultures, further suggests that these cairns were more than just grave sites. They were focal points for spiritual gatherings, where ancient peoples may have attempted to commune with the spirits of their ancestors, or the gods themselves. Yet, despite the wealth of speculation and investigation that has surrounded the site, no definitive explanation has been put forward. The people who built Clava Cairns left behind no written records, no inscriptions to clarify the meaning behind their monumental creations. And while archaeologists have studied the cairns extensively, many of their hypotheses remain unproven, with each new discovery only raising more questions. What was the true purpose of the cairns? Were they built as a gateway to the afterlife, as a celebration of the natural world, or as a cosmological observatory? The answers to these questions may lie buried beneath the stones, hidden from view but waiting to be uncovered by future generations of researchers. Standing among the ancient stones of Clava Cairns, it's easy to feel a sense of awe and wonder. These monuments, built thousands of years ago, continue to stand as a silent testament to the skill, spirituality, and ingenuity of the people who constructed them. And yet, their true purpose remains as elusive as ever. Are we any closer to understanding the meaning behind these ancient cairns? Or are they destined to remain a mystery, forever woven into the fabric of Scotland's deep and mysterious past? As we leave this sacred site behind, one question persists. What hidden truths about the ancient world still remain, waiting to be uncovered by those who dare to seek them? Nestled deep in the Khuzestan plain of southwestern Iran, Choga Zanbil rises majestically from the desert floor. A massive, step pyramid-like ziggurat, this ancient structure stands as a striking reminder of a once thriving civilization, now long gone. Yet, despite its impressive size and formidable appearance, this monumental ruin, one of the best preserved ziggurats in the world, still holds many secrets. At first glance, the Choga Zanbil ziggurat may appear as little more than an imposing weathered mass of bricks. But to truly understand the significance of this structure, we must look beyond its simple form and delve into the enigma of its origin, purpose, and the culture that built it. This ancient complex, constructed around 1250 BC by the Elamite Kingdom, one of the great early civilizations of the Near East, was not just a grand building, but a place steeped in spirituality and power. Yet, despite its size, its creators seem to have left little behind to explain its true purpose. Choga Zanbil was built as a temple complex dedicated to the Elamite god Inshushinak, a deity believed to protect the city of Susa, the Elamite capital. At the heart of the complex sits the ziggurat itself, a towering multi-storied structure made of mud bricks and rising 25 meters, 82 feet, above the ground. Its 5 distinct tiers ascend in a series of steps, each one smaller than the last, creating a pyramidal shape that is both awe-inspiring and symbolic. The sheer scale of the ziggurat speaks to the power and ambition of the Elamite rulers, who were determined to create a monumental structure worthy of their gods. Yet, while the structure's form is impressive, it's the mysteries surrounding the ziggurat that make it truly fascinating. The original function of the Choga Zanbil ziggurat remains unclear. Was it simply a religious temple, a structure built to honor the gods? Or did it serve other purposes? Political, ceremonial, or even astronomical? Some scholars have suggested that the ziggurat was used as a cultic center, a place where ritualistic activities and ceremonies were held to appease the gods. Given the prominence of Inshushinak, the temple dedicated to him may have been a critical center of religious practice for the Elamites, potentially attracting pilgrims from surrounding regions. The vast size of the structure itself suggests that it was more than just a humble shrine. It was likely a symbol of divine power. Interestingly, there are no large inscriptions at the site, no clear texts that explicitly describe the ceremonies or rituals carried out within the walls of Choga Zanbil. While there are Elamite inscriptions found in nearby regions, the lack of detailed written records at the ziggurat raises several compelling questions. Did the Elamites rely more on oral traditions or other forms of communication to transmit their religious beliefs and practices? Or were they deliberately evasive, intentionally obscuring the full nature of the rituals performed there? The ziggurat is not the only feature that sparks curiosity. Surrounding the ziggurat are the remains of a large city complex, complete with temples, shrines, and other ceremonial structures. The city, believed to have been built and abandoned during the same period, is thought to have once served as the religious and political heart of the Elamite Empire. Evidence of once vibrant life, such as pottery fragments, tools, and figurines, scattered across the site suggest that this was a bustling place, alive with activity, even if now it appears almost abandoned. What remains particularly perplexing about Choga Zanbil is the sudden disappearance of the city. The Elamites, after constructing such an ambitious and impressive structure, seem to have abandoned it with little explanation. The ziggurat, though abandoned, remained standing as a silent sentinel for millennia, weathered by time but still retaining much of its original grandeur. Archaeologists are still unsure about the reasons for the city's abandonment. Some suggest it was the result of invasions, perhaps by neighboring forces or rival states, while others propose that environmental changes, such as the shift in river patterns or the decline of the region's resources, led to the city's downfall. Could there have been a spiritual or political crisis that caused the people to abandon their god's temple? Or was the ziggurat so large, so overwhelming, that it became an unsustainable burden, leading to its eventual neglect? The absence of written explanations regarding the abandonment adds to the mystery, and the lack of a definitive answer leaves the ziggurat's final years shrouded in uncertainty. What really happened to the Elamite civilization that built Choga Zanbil? Why did they walk away from such a monumental effort? These questions continue to intrigue archaeologists, historians, and those who visit the site, hoping that somewhere, hidden within the layers of history, lies the key to understanding why such an important site was abandoned so suddenly. Even the construction methods of the ziggurat itself are subject to debate. The structure was built primarily from mud bricks, a common material in the region, but the sheer scale and precision of the construction raise questions about how the builders were able to achieve such an ambitious feat. With no advanced tools or machinery, how did the Elamites transport and arrange the massive blocks of mud brick? Was there some form of engineering knowledge passed down through generations, or perhaps a lost technique that enabled them to execute such a grand project? Another captivating aspect of Choga Zanbil is its alignment with the landscape. Some researchers suggest that the ziggurat may have been constructed with astronomical significance, designed to align with the solstices or other celestial events. The Elamites were known to have had an interest in astronomy, and many of their cities and temples were built with attention to the heavens. Could the ziggurat have been constructed not just as a place for worship, but as an observatory of sorts? Was there a connection between the cosmic cycles and the rituals performed there? If so, the astronomical alignment of the site could provide a key to understanding its true purpose, beyond merely being a place for the worship of Inshushinak. In the end, the story of Choga Zanbil is one of both achievement and mystery. It stands as a monumental testament to the skill and devotion of the Elamites, yet its precise purpose remains a subject of speculation. The lack of written records, the enigmatic disappearance of the Elamite city, and the unknown motivations behind the ziggurat's construction all contribute to its aura of mystery. The Choga Zanbil ziggurat still stands, much as it did thousands of years ago, raising questions and inviting curiosity about the people who built it and the civilization that vanished, leaving behind only the silent, towering structure as a reminder of their existence. What drove the Elamites to create such a magnificent edifice, and what happened to them when they left it behind? Was it a symbol of divine favor, a beacon of their power, or something far more complex? As with so many ancient mysteries, the answers remain just out of reach, hidden beneath the layers of time and dust. And as the winds continue to blow across the barren landscape of Ġgantija, one can't help but wonder what secrets remain buried in its shadow, waiting to be uncovered by those brave enough to seek the truth. As we shift our focus from the awe-inspiring grandeur of the Ġgantija ziggurat to the distant highlands of Ethiopia, we arrive at a site that is far less known, yet equally shrouded in mystery. Here, amid the dry, windswept landscapes of the southern nations, lies the enigmatic Tiya Stelae, a cluster of ancient stone pillars, standing tall and silent for over 1,000 years. At first glance, these towering stones, etched with cryptic symbols and abstract patterns, seem almost innocuous, weathered markers in a vast open field. But the closer one examines the stelae, the more curious they become, for they are not just simple gravestones or boundary markers, as one might initially assume. The Tiya site is located near the town of Tiya, part of the larger Soto region in the Omo Valley, an area renowned for its archaeological significance. The stelae, over 30 of them scattered across the site, range in height from 3 to 5 meters, 10 to 16 feet, towering above the landscape like silent sentinels from another time. The stone pillars themselves are intricately carved, some adorned with geometric patterns, others with abstract symbols that remain largely untranslatable. While many of the stelae appear to be markers for burial sites, the precise nature of these monuments and the people who erected them remains elusive. The Tiya Stelae date back to the 12th century BC, and the site is considered part of the ancient Dima culture, a civilization that once thrived in this region of the Horn of Africa. The Dima people are thought to have been ancestors of the modern Sidama people, though much about their culture, language, and social structure remains unclear. Unlike other stele sites, such as those found in Africa's Great Rift Valley or Egypt's Nile Valley, the Tiya Stelae offer little in the way of clear inscription or identifiable imagery. Instead, the carvings on the stones seem to defy easy interpretation, with symbols ranging from triangular shapes to spiral motifs, and from human-like figures to abstract animals. The absence of a key to these symbols leaves archaeologists and scholars to speculate on their meaning. The purpose of the Tiya site remains a matter of intense debate. Given its connection to the Dima culture, it is widely assumed that the stelae were used in ritualistic or funerary contexts, potentially marking the graves of prominent figures or warriors. Some scholars believe the stelae were erected to commemorate significant battles or to honor individuals of high status. Yet, despite these plausible explanations, many aspects of the site remain unexplained. For example, why are some of the stelae adorned with elaborate carvings of weapons, while others seem to feature abstract forms that may have held spiritual significance? Was this a place for ancestor worship? Or was it a location for more ritualistic ceremonies, perhaps even those of a sacred or political nature? The sheer scale and craftsmanship of the Tiya Stelae suggest a society with a high level of organization, but the site's purpose does not fit neatly into any one category. While it is clear that the stelae were deeply significant to the people who created them, what that significance was, beyond the basic ceremonial or funerary context, remains open to interpretation. As with so many ancient sites, the absence of written records at Tiya only deepens the mystery. In other parts of the world, civilizations like the Egyptians or Mesopotamians left behind copious amounts of written material that help us understand the meanings behind their monuments and symbols. But at Tiya, there is no such written language, no set of hieroglyphics or cuneiform to decode the meanings behind the stone carvings. What we are left with is the raw material itself, massive stones bearing symbols that continue to elude modern interpretation. This absence of direct communication raises a number of intriguing questions. Were the Dima people simply a non-literate culture, relying more on oral traditions to pass down their beliefs and history? Or did they possess a written language that has been lost to time, perhaps intentionally hidden or destroyed? And if the symbols were meant to convey a specific message, why have they remained so obscure to us? Are we missing something fundamental in the way we approach these ancient carvings? Or were the meanings always intended to remain elusive, perhaps as a form of secret knowledge, known only to a select few? Adding to the mystery of the Tiya Stelae is the ritualistic context that seems to surround the site. It is known that the area surrounding the stelae was used for burial, and human remains have been discovered in close proximity to many of the monuments. Some of these remains suggest a society that may have practiced sacrificial rites, as certain skeletal remains show signs of violent injury or decapitation. Was the site a place of worship, dedicated to honoring the dead? Or did it serve a more political purpose, marking the graves of elites or powerful figures? Some archaeologists have speculated that the Tiya site could have been the site of a political or religious conflict, where the stelae were erected as a way of marking territory, asserting power, or recording important events. Astronomical alignments have also been suggested as a possible reason for the arrangement of the stelae. Much like other ancient cultures that built megalithic structures, such as Stonehenge in England or the Nabta Playa in Egypt, the people of Tiya may have had an interest in the stars and celestial bodies. Several of the stelae are aligned in such a way that they seem to correspond with solstices or equinoxes, leading some researchers to suggest that the site may have served as a ritual center where celestial events played a role in religious or social practices. Did the Dima people believe that the stelae were connected to the heavens? Could these monumental stones have functioned as ritual markers for astronomical events, or even as a calendar of sorts? And if this is true, what deeper cosmic or spiritual significance did the stelae hold for those who erected them? Despite the various theories and speculations, the full meaning of the Tiya Stelae remains one of Ethiopia's great archaeological mysteries. Why were they erected in such an isolated location, far from major urban centers or trade routes? Was it the significance of the land itself, the place where the stones were raised, that made this site sacred? Or did the Tiya Stelae symbolize something larger, something that we have yet to fully comprehend? And perhaps the most profound question of all, what if the Tiya Stelae hold a secret that we are simply not ready to understand? An insight into a forgotten culture that may have shaped the course of history in ways we cannot yet fathom. As we stand before these monumental stones, weathered and worn by time, we are reminded of the fragility of human knowledge. So many clues have been lost in the sands of time. Lost civilizations, disappeared languages, buried rituals. The Tiya Stelae may never speak to us in a language we can fully decipher, but perhaps the mystery is precisely what makes them so enduring. They stand, silent but powerful, asking questions that reach far beyond the limits of our understanding, inviting us to wonder about the people who built them, the world they inhabited, and the secrets they left behind, waiting even now to be uncovered.